computer. That's what we want. Okay. Welcome to the activation coaching video about the 9 centers in human design. I'm Michelle Gaza.
And I am Kayvon Fair, and just want to thank you once again, everybody that's joining us for the program. And you know, this is definitely going to be some transformation, just transformative energy, and just going deeper with understanding more about, more about who we are. You know, I'm just super happy that everybody made it. Everybody that's here, I'm happy for you guys to just continue to go with the program because, like she said, this is our first time, and but I'm highly confident just because of just what I've been doing already in the transformation that's been taking place. So this month is going to be an exciting month of just going deeper into who it is that we are, deeper into the form, understanding the form and understanding your power and and your abilities, and that's what we're going to really go through when we speak one-on-one. But getting this information totally just rounds out the energy and as far as our understanding of just the whole process. So thank you. And I just want to start this off with saying that I forgive you and I love you and I accept you. And let's get it going.
So we're going to go from the top down. We'll go through the 9 centers one by one. We'll give descriptions of the center. And then for each center, there are questions or affirmations for both the defined and undefined versions. And maybe let's just say right now, because this applies to everything. So just note that there's actually technically 3 ways the center can operate. It can be defined, undefined, or open. Open and undefined are different. Open means you have no activations whatsoever, not a single gate activated. Undefined means you have a gate, at least one gate activated, but the center doesn't connect with another gate for another center. And then defined is when one of the gates activated in that center links up with an activated gate in a neighboring center, and that's actually what defines the centers. In order for a center to be defined, it has to have a gate that's activated that connects with an activated gate on a neighboring center. So we have open, undefined, and defined. So we're going to start with the head center. Mm-hmm. So this center is connected with the pineal gland, and it's the inspiration center.
Yes. And first of all, just to set up everything, just to set up the energy, just for today, just to let you guys know, before I came in and I did this, I did like a chart for the day today. And one of the main and major things that's actually happening today on the actual earth plane is transformation. And for the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, or actually really heavy the past couple of weeks, we have been going through major transformative energy just as far as a collective on the planet. So not only are you guys synced into your own personal transformation, you're also synced in with the transformation of the planet. And this is actually a full moon. It's a full moon today. It's for the next 3 days, I believe. We're going to be wrapped up in this full moon energy, which is why it's so powerful. So we can take all of this energy and just channel it into our personal transformation. And by doing that, it'll just it'll pop us open even more. So just had to drop that in there.
And also be aware, wherever you have an open or undefined center, you not only take in the energy of other people whose center is defined, but you also take in the energy of the planets.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Full
So
moon, open centers,
Oh.
undefined centers.
amplification.
Be ready.
So open crown, which is the inspiration, just starting off with the top. And the reason why we're going from the top down is this is literally the path of, I would say, the path of your soul, so to say. When you come in through the crown, and then you make your way throughout the human design chart. If you were to follow it down this individual path, you can take it all the way down to the root. And when you get down to the root, this is how I can look at your chart and I would see that you're pretty much done with just the incarnation part of just the game. So of the physical game. So we can literally determine how far it is you've come along your spiritual path by looking at your chart and seeing how many activations you have down this middle circuit. Down this middle circuit, going all the way down to the root. So starting from the crown, we're going to make it to the root, and the root is where you actually exit to have the out of body experience. When you engage and your root is activated, it opens up that gate for you to actively leave and to experience that next level. So this is a part of the whole game, and the whole teaching that we're doing is to get you ready for this next level, which is that next month. So the crown, the inspiration center, having, like Michelle said, having an open crown, literally it means you're open. And especially when I'm talking open, I mean all the way open, no activations coming from any of the three areas. It'll look like this. So when you don't have any of these centers within the crown defined or colored in, then you're completely open. So it gives you an extra dimension to the actual openness. This is what makes you the true empath. It allows you to be an open, it allows you to not only be open, but you also become a medium. And because it's the inspiration, this is where a lot of creative individuals have completely open crowns and are considered inspirational people or muses themselves. Maybe they don't know it, or maybe they do, but you have a real heavy and strong connection just to the arts, to nature, to just creativity and just inspiration in general. So when we see kings and queens, a lot of the times you see them with the crowns on top of their heads, and the crown is just symbolizing that they have achieved that inspiration, whatever it is that brought them to this glorious standpoint in life. Their crown center is probably totally defined and buzzing. So when you totally define your crown, you develop literally like a crown. You feel like a crown on your head, especially when it's activated and you're downloading information. You can literally feel the buzzing of the crown. So if you are the type of person that have that open crown, then you're going to be open to these inspirations coming from other people. And a lot of the times you must know that it's coming from somewhere else, or you're going to be more than likely living out someone else's inspiration. And you're going to constantly be just pulled and pushed in whatever direction the person, whoever it is that's closest to you, depending on how adamant they are about, their own inspiration or being inspiring or connecting and receiving, that information from the collective. So having that open crown makes you extremely sensitive to the outside reality, the outside environment. I would just want to just say this for all people who have that open crown. Your environment is so important, because when any center is open like that, especially the crown, it's also a pressure center. So you can feel the pressure. You can feel the pressure of coming up with inspiring ideas, or the pressure to know a specific knowledge in order to gain more awareness. So a lot of people with these open minds or these open crowns, they can experience crazy headaches. depending on the reality that's around you. If you have a very low vibrating reality, it's not going to be very inspiring. So it'll create a lot of low static and a lot of depressed static. So it can easily cause depression. So people with open crowns, it behooves you to start to really clean up your reality, cleaning up the or just literally moving into a better place, a more clear environment, somewhere where you're not going to be feeling so much mental pressure, or just the quality of the pressure that you're feeling. It's not going to be a low quality. So
should I do the... So after Kayvon does these descriptions, I have a list of questions and affirmations for each center based on whether they're defined or undefined. So should I just do the undefined right now?
Well,
and then you want to talk about a defined crown?
Okay.
Okay. So if you have an open head center, you want to be asking yourself, so you may notice you're always feeling under pressure to answer other people's questions. So just constantly be asking yourself, am I trying to answer everyone else's questions? Are you trying to live out other people's ideas and inspirations? I mean, you can walk into a restaurant and kind of know that you want the turkey sandwich, and then you get in there and you're hearing all this other stuff going on around you and other people's ideas about what they want to eat, and suddenly you're ordering the shrimp, and then the order comes and you're like, why did I order this? So just be aware. And, you know, it's interesting to think about this center and some cultures where people wear head coverings as their tradition. And because 50% of people, or it might be more actually, I think it is more. I think it's 70% are open.
Open crown?
Yeah, I have it over here. 70% I think are open up there. So for the vast majority of us, we're very open and vulnerable at the top. So just being aware of that can be very helpful, because you can end up spending a lot of time worrying about other people's questions and concerns that really aren't your problem. So if you have an open head, just recognize that you're going to be getting inspiration all the time, but you got to follow your strategy in order to decide what to do.
Yes.
So we can't follow every inspiring idea. And I'm a fiction writer, and Kayvon and I, even since we've been together, have had this happen where we get so many inspiring ideas about fictional stuff that we want to write, but there's no way we could possibly pursue all of it. So we have to follow our strategy and our authority to decide what's really worth investing time in and what's just a funny idea that we're not really going to follow through. So
Yes.
The questions in your head are from others. You don't have to answer all of them, only the ones that truly inspire you.
Yes.
So I'll let you do the defined center, and I'm
Yes.
going to get that
All right.
statistic.
And also, before I go to the defined center, I just wanted to give you the example of an undefined. So you have defined, open, and undefined. Undefined, literally, you'll have one or more of these centers coming from the crown activated. Whether when I mean activated, I mean literally like it'll be black or red, and that's the gate. These are called gates. When you have a connection from one center to the next, it's called the channel. So if you have a gate activated and you have the center white, aka undefined, then it'll be a little different than someone who has it completely open. The completely open is the complete empath. This is someone who's here to literally just observe. So this is what makes you the observer. This is what gives you that detached viewpoint when experiencing others' inspiration. Now, if you have one gate activated within your open mind, then what happens is it literally becomes open. It literally you're literally able to attract in the information and knowledge depending on what activation this is. So for example, this is gate 61, and 61 is the gate of truth. So you'll attract to you multiple ways of learning just the different forms of what truth is. you'll learn what truth is on pretty much all angles and all shades of the reality. You'll be able to see it from all ways. So it'll allow you, it's open just like the open center, but it has like a filter. The best way I can explain it is it's literally like a filter to this openness. So you'll be open, but within this realm, within the realm of truth and the occult knowledge and psychic energy, because gate 61 is the psychic gate. It's the occult. It's one of the psychic gates.
So could you say that it like kind of determines the themes that are echoing around in the open center? Would
Yes.
it be? Okay.
Yes.
Whereas if you're totally open like me, no definition up there, you just, everything's getting amplified.
Yes.
And that's,
Yes.
that's explains that blonde effect.
Yes. So.
Because I go in the grocery store, if I don't have a grocery list, oh my God, it would be hilarious. It's like some crazy sketch comedy to watch me go around the grocery store and then realize I forgot something in produce and then have to go back to the bread section, but then realize, oh, I didn't get carrots. And I'm just bouncing around all over the place. Just if I don't have a list to keep me focused, I could be in there for an hour. And all I needed was 4 things. And I'm not exaggerating. It can be like embarrassing.
No, and look, me and Michelle got both open crowns all the way. And it's the same thing. Like when I go in the grocery store, it's like freaking Willy Wonka land. And I don't know what to choose.
Especially Whole Foods, because, you know, they're so good at their presentation. So you're like, oh, wow.
Yes.
And by the way, I found the stat. So 70% of people have an undefined crown.
Wow. Yes. That's a lot of people.
Do you want me to do the defined ones, or you still want to do more?
Oh, I was just
going
going
to do the defined.
just go over the defined.
Okay.
Now we understand open. Now the crown also is, like I said again, just in review, it's a pressure center. So, you know, if you have this center open, this is the cause for a lot of mental pressure. And this is definitely the mental pressure to be well, I'm not going to say to be someone, because that's in another location, but, you know, it's just especially just when it's dealing with inspiration and wanting to be someone that's inspiring for others. You know, this is the realm. As you can see, 70% of our population, we love to be inspired, and we're open to others, and we want to be connected with others, and we want to be, you know, mental empaths. So this is the mental empath, and the mental empath is a whole lot different than the emotional empath. And still understanding we're in the realm of the mind and the mental, which is the realm of no feeling, but also the realm of divine inspiration and divine creation as well. So it has its perks. You know, being open, it allows you to literally just have this open vault, this open connection to all knowledge. And so next, moving to the defined. And like I was saying, the defined is literally, it's determined through the connection from the center above and the center below, but it's connected through a channel. So you can barely see it, but I'm talking about gate 61. So if you're looking at your chart, if you have your chart out, then you have literally gate 61 and gate 24. And when you connect them, then you have that defined mind and that defined crown, which gives you life force energy. So when you have something defined, literally, this is the part of you where you have control. So people with defined crowns, like, these are supremely inspirational individuals. And our past roommate, whatever you got to say, that dude has some inspiring words. Like, yeah. I don't know how he does it, but he has this defined mind. He has every center defined. Mm-hmm. So this dude is super, you know, he's just super on. But I really got a chance to see it, just to really see that defined mind and crown work. And you literally, depending on what you want to connect to and where you want to connect to, you can just focus your mind and it literally just goes there. So the difference is with the openness, you're not focusing anything. You're just open and you're flexible and you're absorbing.
Like even for us to stay on point in these videos is very challenging. And I think that might be why some of our videos that we've made in the past end up being so long, because we're both totally I'm totally open in the mind and crown, and Kayvon is undefined in both of those centers. So we have to really be conscious of staying on point and staying focused, because if we just kind of let things go, we could be all over the place, and 4 hours later, 300 subjects later, and it's entertaining for us, but you know, sometimes you need to kind of stay focused. And for people with a defined crown in mind, sometimes that can be frustrating to deal with those of us who are undefined there, because we have a hard time keeping to the point. You know?
Yes. So tangents, tangent city.
Captain Tangent.
These are the tangentials.
Yeah, totally.
So, but yeah, you know, I like to call it the, you know, the focused mind, you know, when you have these energies connected, because this is what you gain supreme focus if you choose to use it, you know, or you can define your mind, meaning you can program and reprogram what's going on within your mental. So I've met certain people to where they have defined crowns and minds, and they behave as if they have them open, because they were always taught as a young kid to always keep an open mind, to always stay flexible mentally. So these people are supremely, like, they can program themselves to be supremely flexible. You know, the open minds and undefined minds, you don't have a choice. You are flexible.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You are getting bombarded. So you must become flexible. You know, you must understand that you're here to observe these energies that's flowing in, and then literally pick and choose which ones you would like to express or reflect.
It's like some people, it's like having a skeleton versus not having a skeleton. Like these defined centers have like a skeletal structure.
Yes.
That's fixed, and it can be changed somewhat, but it's a lot, you know, it's harder to change a skeleton. Whereas those of us who are undefined or open, it's like there's no skeletal structure there.
Yes.
So.
Yes. That was good.
I know.
I like that.
That's because I'm open up there. The inspiration came in.
I like that. So and now answering the question, you know, is it better to be defined? A lot of people say, is it better to be defined, or is it better to be undefined? I say it depends on the soul. You know, some souls love to be focused. Some souls love to be open, free, and flexible. You know, and depending on what type of soul you are, you know, you're going to be able to answer that question by just asking yourself, how do you feel about it? You know, how do you feel about your open mind and your undefined mind or your defined mind? With me, I have it open, so I love it being open, because I'm a nerd anyway. I'm nosy and I'm a nerd. So I love being inspired by other folks. You know, I love being connected and just pulling it down and expressing it in my way. You know, it's just that the people with the defined minds, you guys really will be sending out the codes. You will be sending out these sacred geometry codes and things like that. When you turn on, when you get activated and you turn on, you'll be creating the codes. The open people will be absorbing them and expressing them for you if you don't know how to express it, because you may be defined to only create and not express. So the defined minds, you can become stuck in certain ways, but the way I like to explain it, it's like it's screwed on. Like you can see, these are like holes. These are like screws. So in order for you to change this middle area from maybe a swirly line to maybe, you know, like that, you'll have to unscrew. You'll have to literally unscrew the top, unscrew the right, unscrew the left, and then shake it out, you know, shake out, you know, release all of the things that's no longer serving you, release all of the inspirations that you're not really feeling, and then only allow the ones that you are feeling to flow down through this channel into this area, which is the defined mind, which is where we're going to go next. But this connection is the programmer. This is where all of those inspiring thoughts get downloaded into, which is the ajna.
So let me do the question.
Yes.
Okay, so if your head center is defined, your affirmations are, I am inspired and inspiring. I spread inspiration everywhere I go, sharing my ideas and insights with others.
Yes, yes.
All right. Moving on to the ajna.
Moving on to the ajna.
The ajna, based in the anterior and posterior pituitary in the brain. This is an awareness center, and its function is to research and conceptualize. So this is the second center. I am also completely open in this center. Both of those centers I'm open in. And so I'll speak again to that question. Is it better to be defined or undefined? Your soul chose what was best for you. So whatever you are is what's better for you. So you really don't have to worry. As Kayvon's setting up, I'll share a story. I did, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the dance form called Butoh from Japan, but I did a workshop several years ago for Butoh. And one of the exercises we did is that we partnered up with somebody and we took turns. You know how you stand back to back and link elbows, and then you can lean forward and hold someone on your back? So we did that, and we took turns, and each partner got a chance to be both the person on the bottom carrying someone and the person on the top being carried. And each turn lasted about 20 minutes. We had to walk around with the other person on our back for 20 minutes and then be carried around on our partner's back for 20 minutes. And this was a really profound exercise because both options were extremely uncomfortable. Both options had positive aspects and challenging aspects. And I see that as really similar to the defined and undefined centers. You can't say one is good or one is bad. There's challenges to both, and there's benefits to both.
Yes. So
really at the end of the day, I promise that your soul chose the best choice for you, for your destiny, purpose, or fate in this incarnation.
Yes. Yes.
So, ajna.
Yes, ajna. Now, ajna, aka the mind.
The mind.
The mind. So, the mind, the ajna, you know, this is the center of all centers. And the reason why it's the center of all centers is because this is the main center that everybody goes to when the going gets tough. This is the one where we all got kind of bamboozled into believing that this was our authority. The ajna is important because before we went into this nine-centered species, before we went into our nine-centered bodies, the culmination of the reality was the seven-centered being. It was literally mind over matter. It was the defined ajna, the defined mind. The defined mind was considered, you know, the everything. It was considered what enlightenment was, the cultivation of enlightenment. But because that was only the seventh center, and we have the 9, and then we have the 13, and then we have the 15. We have all of these different centers, all of these cycles of just elevation. We're gonna be one day expanded to numbers well beyond that. So anyway, just knowing and understanding that the ajna and what it really is and what is really meant to be. So, like she said, it deals with concepts, but also it's also a creation center. But the creation center of what? The creation center of illusions. So the reason why it's mind over matter, and the reason why mind can be over matter and you can manipulate it, is because everything within this reality is an illusion. And if the mind, and if the Ajna center is the center, the creation center of the illusions, then it definitely makes sense that mind should be over matter, because matter is a result of what the illusion was, the result of what you were thinking. Matter is what we are feeling and touching. You know, this board was thought of. So this board stemmed from someone who was first inspired through the crown. And then the inspiration was then downloaded into the ajna, into the mind, to become created. And a lot of people know when you speak to me, I like to talk about how illusions are literally, it's not meant to be looked at as something that's fake. It's something that's just not there. Because illusions, the definition is here 1 minute and gone the next. But while it's here, you can totally feel it and you can participate in it and you can taste it and touch it. So it is something that's real. It's something that we experience. So it has to have its proper respect. But when I say proper respect, that's a knowing that it can be manipulated through thought. And this is why this Ajna Center is so powerful, because we live in a realm of matter. And when you don't understand that, you know, it'll create a lot of confusion. You won't understand that your thoughts are created. You won't understand that if you think it, it will happen. And if you specifically say it, especially coming after you thought it, you definitely better be prepared for it to be popping up in front of you so that you can experience. Because one thing that we don't have, that we cannot go back on, is a lot of us that's in this classroom. You know, we've all got our human design read. We've all already walked through the gate. And just to let you all know, you are leaders. You are the leaders within your communities, within your families, you know, even within your states, depending on how many people are awake in the area. But you guys are the leaders. You are nowhere near the followers. You are nowhere near the people collecting tickets at the door. Nah, I'm talking about you leading people. And this is a part of it. You all are going through your alchemy right now, and things are starting to shift and change within. A lot of us are feeling energy. A lot of us are talking about being ready to leave the reality. And this is what happens when your mind, when the Ajna Center starts to, when you start to pull that personality away from the Ajna Center in the crown area. You know, you stop being so mental and you're starting to be more heart focused. And when you're starting to be more heart focused, you're starting to literally leave the third dimension. So one thing I didn't say, you have the personality crystal and you have the design crystal. The personality literally is your first and last name, and the design is the vehicle. So the design crystal is located here, located within the ajna. So your vehicle was created from the mind. The crown center is where the personality is. This is why it's the inspirational center, because the crown, the personality, is sitting in the back seat of the car and is looking outside of the window, just totally being inspired and in awe of the reality around it. So when you understand that, the personality crystal, and now we're talking about moving into our hearts, is going to feel like you're dying, because you're leaving where normally when you leave a place where you've been living all your life and you transition to the next level, they call it death. Transition is a code word for death. Death doesn't mean you have to leave the body, but the ego mind, because it's dying away, it feels as if it is dying within your body. It feels as if your body wants to die, but it's not your body, it's just your mind. Your mind literally feels as if it is going away and it ain't gonna be never used again. but we all know that your head is still going to be attached to your body. So the mind is irrational when it comes to this whole awakening. It doesn't know what's going on. It's very confused and afraid because it's not connected with the rest of the body. It has a thick bridge called the neck, and only through you pulling your consciousness through this gate and coming down here to the heart will the mind finally understand that it's not really going to die and it's just going to be put in its place. So the Ajna Center is important because of that pull, because this is where a lot of the fear is coming from that we don't know. We don't know where this, where this whole feeling like we're just ready to leave and go. It's just the mind because it's done. The reality we're done being led by just the group mentality. We're becoming more individualized, and when you move into the heart space, it brings you into your specific soul shard. So you become your individualized divine self. And that self is going to be a lot more expansive than the personality crystal self, which is located within the crown. So this Ajna Center, especially with it being the creator of the illusions within this reality, just speaking on the openness of it, if you have it completely open, then you are, again, you're a mental empath, but this is where the ideas and the thoughts, this is where the thoughts of the others flow in. If you have this center completely open, you are completely psychic to other people's thoughts. And when I say completely open, again, there's no centers, no colors coming from it. So having this center completely open, the good part about it is literally you have like a blank canvas. It's almost like having a blank paycheck. It's like having a blank check, not a blank paycheck, but a blank check. And you can write any number on it. Like your creation abilities is totally wide open. I mean, you can create whatever it is. And I'm saying, and even just being with Michelle, because she has it completely open. Michelle has some of the greatest collage works that I've ever seen. Period. I didn't even know people was getting jiggy like that with the collages, but Michelle is. But now I can see, because she has this open mind and the open crown is crazy creative, because everything can be an inspiration. You can pull from anything. Mm-hmm. You really do have that open connection to it all. But because you have that open connection to it all, you can become crazily overwhelmed.
Yes. And I have a one brain, and the one, we'll talk about the profile numbers next week, but the one gets easily overwhelmed. So I'm totally open up there. One brain, it can be nuts.
Yes.
But no victims in this reality at the end of the day. I chose it because part of my purpose was this mission to help us all decolonize. And obviously we've all been mentally heavily colonized. So coming in completely open up there, I have had a deep and vast survey of the mental state of affairs of the species. So it served a purpose. But I definitely also am very, especially now, knowing human design, very conscious of how vulnerable that makes me. But this stuff is so for real, because I went and I had craniosacral therapy done years before I learned about human design. And my friend who did the therapy, when she was at what they're calling in that system, the sixth chakra, because it's the old 7 chakra system, she's like, I have never seen a sixth chakra that open in my entire career before. She just probably never happened to work with somebody who was completely undefined there. So this stuff is real, yes. And other modalities will back it up and validate it. All these systems they're seeing the same truth, maybe with different language and from different viewpoints, but there's like a real objective truth here that is definitely going on.
Yes. Yes. So
should I do the define, or you want to keep going?
Yeah. So another thing I just want to say about this, the Ajna, and understanding the fact that it creates illusions. And what I mean is literally, you know, things that you create with your mind, they tend to not last longer. And they tend to not last as long as things that you create with, I would say, the energy of your sacral, which is the second creation center. And we're going to talk about that a little later during this video. But yeah, you know, just understanding what it means to have this open mind. You know, you're also susceptible, you know, to the program. This is what I mean by people are being programmed. The people that have these open minds are definitely being programmed by the people with these minds defined. So if you have a defined mind or defined crown, you and depending on other energies within your chart, we have specific people who are programming the reality, and we have people that are like, you know, you can put your 2 cents in it, but you have specific individuals when you know, whether you know it or not, you are really programming the reality. And you know, fortunately, I've been speaking to some of you guys already, and you know who you are. And you have a 6 energy in either your sun, earth, or moon on your chart. This is how you know.
And when it comes to the ajna, 50% of the population is defined and 50% is undefined there. So it's just like the solar plexus. It's a 50-50 split. Mm-hmm. I'll do the affirmation.
Or defined. So also, again, just with the defined, when it comes to the defined mind, it means you just have a set grip and control over that energy. You know, you have control. You'll have more focused control over. And especially like she said, when we're having these conversations and staying on topic, the defined mind will keep us on topic. It will keep us going down the right path, or at least the path that we chose to go down. But the defined mind, folks, you gotta understand that when I say like with defined minds, it's like I'm prescribing this. Like, you know, you really have to understand what it means to have an empty cup. So when you look at the defined symbol, it looks literally like a cup, like energy can go in through the top. So if your cup is not empty, meaning if you know everything, or if you feel like, you know, you're already filled up with enough information or whatever, then that's a very clear sign that you are about to start running this horizontal route. And you're going to start going in circles, because a defined mind, you guys need to be, you have to stay fresh. You have to stay fresh with the information. You have to stay, attuned with the flows of the reality, because you can get your mind defined and you can have everything figured out. But as soon as we go through just any type of major change or a pole shift like we just did, and when I mean pole, I mean, you know, we were literally behaving and walking upside down. We didn't know who we were. We didn't know about these strategies and authorities. So now that your poles are shifting, now you're going to have to redefine all of that information, you know, or at least just, you know, just refine some of it and to incorporate this new knowledge. So having that defined mind, you guys are supremely powerful when it comes to creating any and everything within this reality, but especially your reality. You know, as we start to wake up, we all are going to become sovereign within our own cellular reality bubbles, is what I call it. But you know, we all have that sovereignty, but we also signed up to work with each other and to be affected by each other to a certain degree.
So I'm going to give the questions and affirmations for both defined and undefined. So if you have an open ajna, you've got to know that you're going to struggle with feeling confident in your decisions because you're not capable of certainty. So your affirmations are, I am wise about information and beliefs. My gift is that I can see many sides of an issue and have many different understandings that are fluid and change all the time. I don't have to make up my mind. I always write down things I want to remember, like your grocery store list. Now I'm switching to people who have a defined ajna. If your ajna center is defined, your affirmations are, I am gentle with my thinking and always strive to remember that there are many ways to think about information. I am uniquely capable of being certain. I listen carefully to the thoughts of others and allow for limitless thinking with grace. So that's a very diplomatic way of saying being patient with the undefined mind, I think.
Yes.
So just notice that difference. When you're undefined in the ajna, you have no capacity for certainty. When you're defined there, you can have certainty. So that's a major difference. Okay, so let's go to the throat. And just so you know, babe, it's already 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So we'll try to pick up the pace a bit.
Yes.
Some of that, though, was some general stuff at the beginning, too, that took up some time. The throat center connects with the thyroid and parathyroid. It's a center for communication and manifestation into action.
Yes. So I like to call it the magical throat, and AKA the actual. It's like the hub. This is the throat chakra. The throat center is connected to also the throat chakra, and it's literally like the hub. So when you look at your chart, you can notice that all of the lines within the human design, going from whether you're looking at it from the top or the bottom, all of the lines are literally making its way to the throat. So it comes from the root out to the sides, and then it curves back into the throat. It goes from the root down straight up to the throat, from the crown straight down to the throat. So the throat chakra is expression, but this expression is literally everything that you're seeing. So just like I was saying, how someone thought about this board, you know, after they thought about the board, they wrote it out. They wrote the idea down. And when you write the idea down, now you're talking about expressing from the throat. And even though I use my hand, it's connected. The hands are connected to the throat, which is the manifestation center. So everything wants to manifest. This is the reason why the throat is expression. I mean, I know, you know, of course we know it has the voice, but everything has a voice. All of the centers within your body, the organs and everything, they all have a voice. So they all want to be heard and seen at the same time. So this is the reason why all of these lines are going and headed towards the throat area. So having the throat chakra, this is what makes you a manifester. So this answers that question. If you're not a manifester, can I still manifest? Yes. If you have a throat chakra, you can manifest. If you don't have a throat chakra, then I don't know how you're going to do it.
Well,
but
to clarify,
we all have throat chakra because we have throats.
Right. To clarify, the manifester has a throat chakra defined that's connected to a motor.
Yes.
So, for example, some people have their throat chakra connected to the ajna, but they're projectors, and they're definitely not manifestors.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah. So you know, just knowing and understanding the importance of the throat chakra itself, it's not something that should be taken lightly. It's also the realm. It's also the center that deals with dreams. So when it comes to your hopes and your dreams and your wishes, they're all stored within this throat space. So having it open, completely open, again, you're gonna be susceptible to other people's dreams, other people's expressions. Someone with a completely open throat chakra with no activations on it, they will be perfect mimics. Like you can literally mimic the person's voice, they're just everything. You can literally mimic them. You can mimic, or at least their expression. So, the way that they express, you can take it on, and literally pick and choose what you will want to incorporate into your system.
And you'd be very good at doing like voiceovers or voices for cartoons or that sort of anime.
Writing, also writing, it's kind of weird though, because we actually do have writing activation gates, specific gates that are activated. They'll let us know if you're a writer or not. But when you have that completely open throat, because you're such an observer and you gain so much experience and you get the chance to witness so many different expressions, you can really, at the end of the day, you'll really have something to say about it. Mm-hmm. So one thing to know about these open centers is at the end of the day, it leaves you supremely wise. It has, you have a huge capacity for wisdom. Now, with going to the defined throat, of course, you know, the beauty and just the beauty with the defined is literally whether it's connected to it can either be connected to the G center below, or it can be connected to the Ajna center above. And when I say connected through these channels to make it defined. Whenever we have that defined, you know that again, we have a set grip on that energy, meaning we'll have more control over our voices. We'll have more control over our expression. But not only that, when you have it defined, depending on where you're defined, especially I would say, well, this one, this is gate 8 and this is gate 1. So it's literally the channel of, it's another channel of like creativity and inspiration. But this is sharing your creative works and artwork. So if you was to have this center activated and you were an artist, the reality is like waiting for you to express. Whenever you have a connection to that throat, we're waiting for you to say what it is that you need to say, to write that story. We're waiting for you to draw that image. You know, we're waiting for you to speak out loud your dream, because having these centers defined, it literally means like you went through a lot of learning previously, you know, when it came to these centers, and you guys are like almost like the masters, you know, when it of these specific centers, and you came here to be a specific way. So having that throat chakra defined, it gives you the power and ability to control your manifestations, as far as just having that strong voice. Another part of manifesting things into the reality is speaking it out. Open throat people, I have an open throat. Open throat people, it's hard for us to stay consistent with what it is that we're trying to say. And this is the issue with the open throat. You have a lot to say and you got a lot of wisdom that you will want to share, but because we don't have any life force behind it or the connection, it's literally, it can come out jumbled, or it can come out different every single time. The same message will come out different every single time. So the defined mind people, or the defined throat, you have a consistent voice, but also you have a strong voice, and the universe is waiting for you to speak. And when you speak, your voice, it literally penetrates through. It penetrates through whatever layers of fog or barriers that could possibly block you from not experiencing whatever it is that you're speaking. So again, this is going to bring responsibility to the voice. It's going to bring responsibility back to the pen. And they used to say the pen is mightier than a sword. And they said that for a reason, because all lanes and all routes lead up to this expression center. And when this expression center is activated, you can write the sword out of the guy's hand. You know, you can write a new story. So while you're in the story itself. So this throat center is crazy powerful and strong. And it's important for us to, you know, really anchor this down, whether you have it defined or undefined. Undefined, you just won't have undefined, you know, undefined with something activated underneath it. Literally, it'll just filter your reality. It'll filter the openness to that specific gate. So gate 8 is the gate of sharing. So an undefined gate 8 will literally, like, you know, you'll literally be the type of person where you'll be sharing with everybody. Like you won't have really won't be any borders. Yeah. Sharing will be something that you're totally open to, and you need it.
The people who overshare on social media. That's
Yes.
probably me.
So,
Okay, so if you have an undefined or open throat center, the question is, are you trying to get attention so you can be heard?
yes.
Affirmations for the open throat center or undefined throat center. My words are heard best when I am invited to speak. I save my words for people who will truly value my words and point of view. Affirmations for the defined throat center. I speak with great responsibility and know the true source of my words. I allow others to have a voice and use my words to invite others to share. So for the defined throat to be heard, you want to enter into communication according to your strategy. So manifestors and manifesting generators can just talk. Generators need to respond. Projectors need to wait to be invited to speak. But reflectors never have a defined throat, so they don't ever have that going on. So just be aware with all of these centers when it comes down to it. Everything comes back to strategy and authority, and all the rest of this is really just mental entertainment. It's useful mental entertainment, but at the end of the day, just remember everything goes back to that first reading, whether you had a full reading or a mini reading for your first reading. What's your strategy? What's your authority? That will solve everything. But this, this can be helpful. This sort of guidance can definitely support our process. Also, just be aware for people like me, my throat connects to my G center, not my mind and crown. So people whose G center connects to the throat and the throat is defined via the G center, we can be very sensitive to criticism because our expression comes straight from like our soul self, our sense of self, our identity center. So like I tend to post things a lot on social media that can be really triggering. And so the criticism and backlash, I have to really like do a good job of filtering and not letting it get to me, because when I express through the throat, through words, I'm expressing like from my soul. So you can feel somewhat vulnerable because of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we'll move to, and let me give the stats. So throat center, 30% of us are open at the throat and 70 or undefined, and 70% of us are defined at the throat. Now we're going to go to the G center, the identity center, considered one of the most important centers in the human design system. It's the center for love and direction.
Yes.
It is the seat of the soul, and the liver is represented in this center. The identity center is known as the G center or the magnetic monopole. Yes.
And just starting with that magnetic monopole, what that literally is controlled by the nodes, the north nodes and the south nodes within your chart. So when you're looking at your chart and you look at the 1, 2, 3, fourth and fifth symbols from the top, they look like horseshoes. Those are the north and south nodes. The way that we determine your direction in life, like it says, the direction, meaning where you're getting pulled to, literally, we can look at your north and south nodes, and the way we would determine like I wouldn't say the past, well, it's kind of like the past and the future, but it's like the past, present, and future present.
That reminds me of a Boards of Canada song. You're like, the past inside the present.
Yeah, it's like one of them little paradoxes. So that the G center is responsible for magnetizing us to specific areas, driving us to specific areas, because this is where the driver of the car is located. So we talk about who is the driver of the vehicle within the human design, and if it's not the personality, if it's not Kayvon, or if it's not Michelle, then who is it? Then it's the G center. It's the God self center. That's what it stands for. And this is why they say it's the most, it's one of the most, I believe all of them are the most important. But when I say the most important, because literally this is where our authority is coming from. Our higher self, our higher self soul, you know, is driving the car. This is what's pulling us wherever it is that we need to go. So a part of the whole thing about the human design, this is what separates the human design from a lot of other systems, is because it pulls you into this. It pulls you into this area right here. And, you know, and it literally, it tells you to, you know, it kind of guides you to listen to this person as opposed to, you know, like I say, your personality, because the personality is located in the back of the car. It's the backseat driver. So love, identity, direction. Love, because it's the heart chakra. And we all know the heart chakra is unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, and unconditional acceptance. It's also generosity. And when you have this center, undefined or open, you know, you are an empath when it comes to love. And love is something that you're here to learn about. You know, this isn't something that you have in abundance at first. This is something you really learn about, you know, and you would be the type of person that would be in these families to where nobody really tells the person that they love them. You know, a lot of people have those realities. I know me, I grew up in one of those realities where we just wasn't a big lovey family. And when I looked at my mom's chart, she had her G center undefined. So it makes undefined. Yeah. Oh. So it makes sense, you know, it makes sense that she's not all lovey-dovey and whatever, you know, but
mine is defined.
Yours is totally defined. And since I've been with you now, though, I've been amplifying the loviness.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a beautiful thing because I'm here to learn about it, because I have it undefined, you know, I'm here to really learn about love. And because I have it undefined with one activation, which is gate 46, is the love of the body. So when we come to our directions in life and you have gate 46, for example, then one of your directions in life will be to love your body. And I just was talking about this, you know, it's literally, you know, this is that narcissistic game. This is where the narcissism comes from, you know, or, you know, like the quote unquote narcissism, because a lot of times you get punished for loving yourself too much. You know, people want to say, oh, you know, you're conceited or, you know, you're a narcissist or whatever. But if you have that center activated and you don't love yourself like over and beyond, then you won't experience any prosperity and abundance. This channel is connected to, because it's connected to the heart. It is a love. It is, we have certain love gates, and it's one of them. And you must love your body. Like, it means that in a previous life, you might not have been the person to love yourself enough. So this life, this is going to be one of your focuses. And this is important to know that it's some people that are really here and that are focused on loving themselves a whole lot more than they love other people, because they are extreme examples of what it means to really be within your energy. And when you get within your energy, meaning your higher self energy, you feel as if you are on top of the world. You feel as if nothing can stop you. You feel as if you are the most beautiful individual on everybody's green earth. So this center is super important. Also, it contains your identity, your true identity. And whether you have any centers defined or not, your true identity is a reflection of God. It's that reflection of source. And when you understand this connection, then that open G center or that defined G center shines even more. So just to let you guys know, open doesn't mean turned off. It means activated times 2.
Amplified, yep.
Activated and amplified times 2. You know, but knowing if you have that undefined G center, then literally your direction in life is undefined, or if you have it open, it's open. You don't have a set direction. You're here to experience the directions of other people, and again, pick and choose which one you feel the best with. or you can just be
Yeah.
living this life as an experiment and literally just having fun, being able to go and to put on these different shoes, like they say, to try these different, challenges and whatever it is.
So I want to just chime in two things. So to split hairs a little bit, there's like clinical narcissism, and then there's the healthy love of self. So I just want everyone to know we know the difference.
Yes.
Because there's a real issue with like an unhealthy narcissism that comes from we could have a whole other discussion about that. There's different things going on in the chart that can create the sort of psychosis aspect of it, where people are having trouble with emotional empathy. But so we're talking about a healthy love of self. If you have an undefined or open G center, it's very important for you to be in a place that is right for you.
Yes.
If you are undefined or open there, make sure in your private readings you check in with Kayvon about the type of body you have and where you're supposed to be, ideally for your best, opportunities and so forth. Because some people belong on the mountains, some people are valley people, some people need to be in industry, etc. It's really important if you're open or undefined here to pay attention to that, because if you're in a place that doesn't feel right to you, you're not going to get good things to respond to as a generator. You're not going to get invitations as a projector, etc. So that's important. Also, if you're open or undefined there, you are a natural counselor. You're very good at counseling others. So just know that's a superpower that you have, because a lot of times what happens is we have these different designs, but especially if you don't know about human design, it's difficult to know what's special about you and what's something that's happening for everybody. Mm-hmm. If you're open or undefined here, the special thing about you is you can be a counselor. But if you are open or undefined there, just know you have this vulnerability where you are constantly seeking out love and affirmation, and it's like you constantly need to make sure you're getting loved and feeling loved. So it can, if you don't know what's going on, it can become neurotic just because you don't understand your design. Once you understand your design and you feel that impulse, you can just understand, oh, this is my undefined G center doing this.
Yes, and also to just remember that undefined, the white centers, you're learning. So we also want to keep that in mind. If you have these centers white, then learning is learning. Mm-hmm. And negativity is the master teacher for all learning instances. So if you're experiencing a lot of negativity, having these open centers, you will have that negativity first. Believe it. It will come in negative first. And but it's literally it's the challenge aspect. I like to look at it now more so as challenges. And challenges are meant to be overcome so that you can gain the prize at the end of it. So at the end of the day, you become an open, you become open to all directions, but more importantly, you become open to what it is that you love. And what it is that you love, it's not just, it's not defined with one path. If you have it defined, you're here on you have a specific journey, you have a specific route that you have your GPS coordinates are already typed in, and your system know exactly where it's going.
Yes, which is why I get frustrated sometimes when I'm being asked to be flexible.
Yes, but you have to learn, like I say, the define anywhere you have within your chart. What I've just learned just through experience. You have a specific direction and everything, but you have to learn how to gain more flexibility within your defined center, because the changes happen. The only thing constant within this universe is change, and change is something that all defined energy people, wherever you have it defined in your chart, change, it ain't gonna be easy. Mm-hmm. It is never gonna be easy with the defined centers, because it defines itself. It constantly is like, no, all right, yes, I finally got it. I'm locked in. It loves to lock itself into things, especially if it feels good and if it's working. So it definitely does not want to change something that it feels that's working. But we have to wake up and understand that one, if we are very interested in this work and in esoterics and anything like that, it's because ain't none of this stuff been working. That's real. None of the stuff, none of the things a lot of the stuff, it helps over little humps and bumps, but nah, a lot of the stuff just ain't been working. So we're going to go ahead and redefine our defined centers to being flexible and open, because a building that can sway and move with the wind will last a lot longer than something that's just concrete and stiff. And, and those are the main things that get blown down.
Yes.
And just for an example, like the Asian homes, the pagodas, the pagoda is like these multi-level Asian buildings with the little things like this coming down, like a Christmas tree from the top. They're called pagodas. And the way that they're built literally is by this single column beam that's inside. And the rest of the house is kind of built around it. So it allows the house to kind of sway back and forth, but somehow this beam keeps it, by it being in the center, it keeps, by the beam being in the center, meaning staying centered. By staying in its center, it allows the house to literally absorb the shock, that space in it, and the houses don't topple. So you have houses that are earthquake proof just because of the way it was built from its foundations, because it built itself on a solid flexibility. So that's what it's called. It's a solid flexibility. And this is what we want our defined centers to be. Solid, but flexible. Focused, but flexible.
I want to say something more about this.
The G center is deep. It's big.
It is, because as we're talking, I'm just typing an answer to a question. So here's the interesting thing about this center when it's open. So my brother is undefined there and I'm defined. And I had a very challenging time growing up, kind of my alpha energy parents sort of overwhelming my sense of direction and feeling like I had to kind of go along with that. Because this is the ironic thing. My experience in the centers where I'm open and undefined is I feel vulnerable there. And when we'll get to the open solar plexus soon, the solar plexus center, when it's undefined, we have a hard time confronting things and being truthful. But the ironic thing about this G center, and I remember something specifically growing up, when my parents asked me to do something or go somewhere, I had a very hard time saying no, because I'm defined here.
Yes.
When you're defined in your G center, it's very hard for you to say no. You're here to love. You're like this unending well of love. You're like the giving tree. When you're undefined or open there, it's a lot easier for you to say no. And I remember one time my mom was having this party and she came downstairs and said something to my brother about, oh, I want you to go upstairs and speak to such and such and such and such. So my brother looked right at her, and he was only like 14 or 15, still of an age where, at least in my family, like you were expected to be reasonably obedient to your parents. He just looked straight at her and he went, nope. Just like that. And I was like, oh, how do you do that? How do you do that? And then I thought, is it because he's a boy? Is it because he's the youngest sibling? Because my dad has 4 children. He's the 4th. My mind was coming up with all these reasons, because of course then, we're talking the 90s now, I didn't know anything about human design. So the interesting thing about this center is I feel it's totally opposite of the other centers in terms of it's almost like having it defined gives you a certain vulnerability.
Oh, it totally gives you
totally unlike the solar plexus.
Totally, because of that, because it's the love center and it's defined, it means it's active. It's not active, but like you have a grip on that love energy. Like the undefined people, we literally, when I say we're looking for love in all the wrong places, we are really looking for love. Yes. Like the undefined, we are looking for it. You do not feel it. you don't feel that it's inside.
It's a much more cold, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but people with an undefined G center can be really cold. Just like my brother, he's nope, not doing it. No. I have to really like, be like, I'm gonna say no. Like I have to, and I don't have a defined will center, so I have to concentrate. If I'm being asked to do too much or give too much, like it's a real event for me to say no. Kayvon, my brother, people I know that I'm fine. Nope, not gonna do it. And it's so shocking how different. There's a certain coldness.
Yeah.
No. You know?
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing.
Nah. Because what happens is we don't have the energy. You know, literally when you start operating on that energy, it's the higher self. It is unlimited. When you really truly tap into the G center, this vehicle driver is all ecstasy. It is all bliss. It is all abundance. It's all everything. Tapping into that energy. And you know at the end of the day that you can accomplish whatever it is. You can say yes to whatever it is. But at the end of the day, are there people that will learn this about you and take advantage? Yes. You know, so at the end, so you have to protect yourself.
Yes.
And, you know, and I protect myself. Just, you know, you have to speak into existence what it is that you want to experience and who and what type of energies that you would rather prefer in your life, which are energies that are uplifting you and that are respecting your heart space, because that heart space is to be used for huge things. You know, that love can be spread on an energetic level to the whole entire planet. And then you wake up the next day and, you know, and this is how we have these major policy shifts within the reality. Even though, you know, I feel like we create our own political system. We create our own, you know, we are our own presidents and dictators or whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to the collective energy, this heart space can be spread. It can be spread out far and wide. So you know, just understanding that the G center is the center. It is, and when you look at it, it's the only center that's shaped like a diamond. The rest of the shapes are triangles and squares. And triangles are literally like triangles is kind of like that, you know, that little Illuminati all-seeing eye thing. Now, just because I put the symbol up there, I don't mean I'm Illuminati, man. Like, you know, just know I'm just explaining. Just explaining. But the triangle, you know, the triangle itself, it allows you to see things. And it's just in our way. And I tell Michelle, man, it ain't fair that these people use all of the symbols that work for their nefarious needs. Like, I can't help it that the triangle is used to, like, literally pierce through realities.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, you can have negative entities or angels coming in, and it's the same channels. It's like there's a telephone, and demons can call you, or spirit guides and angels or ancestors who love you. So,
and depending on what frequency you're on,
you make it.
Who's going to really be trying to call you, because and this is the good part about this love center, is because you are constantly in love until you get used and abused, and then you like fake not being in love, because you can't never not love people or things, no matter how mad you get about the reality.
Yeah, hate is just like it's a different spectrum of the love vibration. It's like a cheap substitute for love. Mm-hmm. Can I do the affirmation?
So yeah, no.
Or are you done? Okay.
I'm done.
Yeah. So I also statistically, 45% of people have an undefined G center, and so I guess that means 55 are defined there. If you have an open identity center, do you notice that you tend to adopt the personalities of those around you, because you're like taking in other people's identity and amplifying it? Do you question your lovability? And I dated somebody who was undefined there, I couldn't understand it at the time. It just felt like he needed so much attention and affirmation all the time. And I was definitely in judgment of that, because I'm defined there. So I don't have a need like that. And I just couldn't understand it. Then once I found human design, of course, you know, you find out human design, you look up all your ex's charts. I was like, oh, that's what's going on. So there can really, it can be neurotic if you don't know what's going on. But if you know what's going on, just you can relax there. You don't have to be running around. You are already lovable. We're all equally lovable. And when your identity center is open, it's like you just have an undefined sense of self and higher self. And that's definitely not a bad thing, because it's easy to see self everywhere then. Affirmations for the open identity center. How I experience myself changes depending on who I am with. Knowing this, I choose to surround myself with people who feel good to me. So similarly to being in the right place, you want to be around the right people. And we got a question in the chat about the place. So there are specific things in your chart. So when you have that individual reading with Kayvon, he can tell you the ideal environment for you to be in. Ian also said in the chart, there's also a site, but it's astrology only. It's not human design, that can show you like different lines that are like power lines for you all around the globe. And we can share that later. So that's something that you could use. It's not human design though. It's just astrology. But in human design, like there's specific places, like some people are cave people, some people are market people, some people are industry people. But we'll be talking about all that next week when we talk about the 6 profile numbers. But so you've got to be around, when you're open or undefined here, you've got to be around people who feel good to you and places that feel good to you. That's really important. And again, like, you're already loved. So if you feel like you have this, like, are you posting a lot of stuff on social media to get the likes because you feel a need for confirmation? Like that can be the not self side of the undefined G center. Your place is very important to you. Create an environment that soothes you. When you're in the right place, the right opportunities come to you. Now, when you have a defined identity center, your affirmations: I am who I am. I am who I am. My flexibility is somewhat limited here. I express myself in all that I do. And again, I spoke earlier, my G center is defined going to my throat. So when I speak stuff, it feels like it's really my soul getting exposed. So I can be real sensitive about the criticism. I express myself in all that I do because I have a defined G center. I celebrate the magnificence of who I am. And just, they probably should put on here, another thing. Am I saying yes when I don't really mean yes? Because when you have a defined G center, it's much harder to say no. So that can be our neurotic not self thing, where we're just saying yes all the time and just giving love all the time. We are here to be giving love all the time when we're defined there. But you still have boundaries, you still have to be healthy about that. But know that, when we're defined there, that can be our not self issue. When you're undefined, the not self issue is seeking out the love. Okay, so now, I was going to do the will center next.
Will center?
But we can do the solar plexus.
Okay.
It's however you want.
I was sitting there like, wait a minute. I know I'm skipping one. But no,
what do you want to do?
I don't know. Maybe the energy wants the solar plexus.
Okay,
right now.
but let me say before we do solar plexus, so there's the G center and the will center, and those are both heart centers. There are 2 heart centers in human design. The G center is that diamond in the center of the chart. It's yellow when it's defined. Then the will center is the tiniest picture center on the chart, and it's red when it's defined. So we're going to skip to solar plexus and come back to the will center.
Yeah. A little bit out of order, but
so solar plexus, 50% of people are defined, 50% of people are undefined. The solar plexus is associated with kidneys and pancreas and the emotions, of course. It is a motor center. So this is one of those centers. If you have the solar plexus connected to the throat, you are a manifester, or if you also have a defined sacral, you're a manifesting generator. This is, it's a motor center, and this emotional energy fluctuates in waves.
Yes. So starting off with the open solar plexus and this is solar plexus in general, like you say, the emotional wave. And if you are an emotional being, we definitely spoke on this. But for those of you who are not emotional, this is what it means as far as being open here. And the solar plexus is I know, like it's so deep. I know the G center was important, but the solar plexus, I would say, it is probably the most impactful, one of the most impactful energies on the planet right now, because the planet in itself is literally located within the solar plexus of the within our ascension right now. So we're supposedly moving from the solar plexus to the heart, and this is the reason why the heart energy is so prevalent right now on the planet, because we are literally shifting into this. Literally in 2027, we're going through another shift, and we're moving from the solar plexus to the heart space. And this is where they say no children born after 2027 will ever, you won't ever be able to lie to them.
Yeah, because the solar plexus for the species is going to be completing its definition. So all the children born after that are going to have the complete wisdom of the solar plexus. So
which is yes, so which is the wave, and the wave can be custom to. It can be kind of similar to past and future, and with the way that it moves. So the emotion center literally is energy and motion. And being emotional, especially being open. Well, I just explained to you being emotional first. So being emotional, having it defined, it literally means, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and then you settle within the middle. So it creates this up and down nature within the reality, and you can see how that is within just our species. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, and sometimes you have days where it seems like nothing is just going on. And it's literally just reflected out in the reality around us. Some people, they say one thing 1 minute, and then, the next minute it's something totally different. Just even with the whole presidency, they said that the government was for the people and all of this stuff, but government literally means mind control. Government, mental, to govern the mental. So it was mind control from the get-go. But being emotional, the emotions will allow you to it'll allow you to see everything that's presented from all angles. And because the emotions is like akin to water, it also has the ability to dissolve, to dissolve antiquated forms because of the newfound awareness. So emotional people tend to be either stuck in the past, or either worried about the future. One thing that we all must know about the past and the future is the past and the future is the only ways that fear can enter into our system. So you want to be careful with how much time you spend on the past and how much time you spend worrying about the future, because that is the only way that fear can literally enter in. It cannot enter into the present moment. But the emotional beings, we don't experience truth within the now. We don't experience that truth within just the now moment. It's a continuous wave of up and down and settle, up and down and settle. So being open to that means that you absorb the energy of emotional beings around you, and you amplify at times too. So if you are an emotional, and this is what literally creates the emotional impasse, this is totally open without any connections, is what creates the true emotional empath. But this emotional empath, what you have to know being this, is that your connection is not only just to the people around you, especially if you're doing spiritual work. The more and higher you advance on your spiritual work, the higher your frequency become. The more area, the more space you cover. So depending on your frequency, it'll be depending on what amount of emotionality that you're pulling into your system. So when you get to certain levels of enlightenment, you'll be pulling in that planetary consciousness. You'll be feeling the emotions of the planet itself. And you also know, speaking to me, everything is alive. Everything is energy, matter, and consciousness. So we must remember the Trinity aspect of what's going on, because we teach a Trinity teaching. And the Trinity literally just is like you see here. You have 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. The only line that's not within the only center that's not within the Trinity is the G center, which is shaped like a diamond because it's on that next level. It's completed. So when you complete the triangles, the top pole and the right pole, when they come together, it shows up like a diamond. The diamond is that perfected form. So this is why the G center is important, because it's literally the only perfected energy within our system. Mm. So just going back into the emotions, just open emotions, just really being affected by other people's emotions and the way they feel. It allows you to gain insight into what they're experiencing, but also having these open emotions. You guys are like an anchor for the emotional beings to reach their center. So you're not supposed to be flying off the handle when you see the emotional person fly off the handle. Your job is to detach and to be that detached observer. That's the beauty of having it open, is that you can just look at us go crazy. You can look at me, I'm emotional. So you will see me going up and down all day long, and you can really just, be wild out about how you can see how it's like we're schizophrenic almost.
Yes.
Yes. So
there's been so many times where I like kick myself because I'm like, I can't believe I didn't learn this lesson. My parents were both emotionally defined. And growing up, I couldn't, it was so confusing because I would believe their emotions. So at one moment, my mom would be like, it's X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, okay. So I then go and be like, okay, I'm going to structure. Everything's going to be X, Y, and Z, and blah, blah. And then a week later, she's like, well, ABC, we're going to do ABC. And I'm like, well, but you, yes. But they'll be just as confident then. And it's like, it gets so confusing when you're open here if you don't know what's going on, because if you take them at the high or the low and try to take that as the truth, you're going to be screwed. Don't build your life, either whether you're emotionally defined or not, don't build it on the high or the low, because that's not the full picture. It's not that the high isn't true, and it's not that the low isn't true. It's like that picture I used to have up on my Facebook page. There's different things that are true, but then the truth is like this whole bigger thing. So these are aspects of the truth you're seeing in the emotional wave, but until you complete the wave, you don't know the truth.
Yes.
This is true at the height, this is true at the low part, but then the truth is like the whole wave.
Yes. And also the beauty of the defined nature of the open center is that you can travel into the past and you can travel into the future. But one thing about traveling into the future is that the future is always literally a possibility. Futures are always possibilities or probabilities. They can always change. No future is guaranteed unless you choose to make it a guarantee. Now, if the future is good and you like what you have experienced, then you go ahead and you do the same exact things that, you don't change anything. If you don't change anything, you will experience the future that you experience or that you see when you start to gain this power or this awareness, but also, just know that the future is just up for grabs as you change within the now moment. So even though we don't have any truth within the now moment, that does not mean that the now moment don't exist. Mm-hmm. Emotional people, we exist on a series of now moments. Mm-hmm. This is the truth of it. It's a series of now moments that are sometimes up, sometimes down, but then it also settles. And the undefined individuals, they allow us to get to that settled nature a lot quicker than if we would literally just be alone and just going through our wave. I just noticed myself just looking at Michelle staying super calm, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I've gotten so much better at it because now I actually know what's happening. So before Human Design, I knew something was going on, but I was like, am I just imagining this? Am I being overly sensitive? So then I ended up making this whole career about studying emotions. I started studying psychology at age 16. We had these special classes at my high school. So I started formally studying emotions at 16 because I'm undefined there. I'm not totally open. And I had two emotionally defined parents. So I was having a very confusing time, not understanding what was going on. And what I've learned is that when an emotional person is at their high or low point, it's just my job to stay present and be centered and not to dismiss them, but also to remember that there's more to the picture. Like Ian has said, there's always more to the story. Little truths making up the truth, which is alive and changes according to need. Confusing, LOL. Yes, can be very confusing. When you're undefined emotionally, if you're around someone who's at a peak or a low part, a really great thing to do is to invite them back to the present moment. So asking them, what's happening right now? What's going on right now? What do you need right now? Also, but that's more like Jedi level. That's when you've learned to be a screen and not a sponge. So remember, all the open and undefined centers, you've got to learn to be a screen and not a sponge. So filter what comes through. Don't soak up any of it. Just filter it. Yes. Because the high and the low points of that wave, again, when we're talking about the solar plexus, it's all information. And it's not that any of it is false. It's just part of the picture. So you can take in the information. And if someone is at the low point of their wave, oh, okay, he's really crabby now, but we haven't eaten in 7 hours, so maybe he needs to eat right now. That might be what's happening right now. Or maybe what I just did triggered his abandonment issues from when he was 7. So maybe that's who's present right now. Since you know IFS, he's got a part that's taken over and is leading him who got triggered because of some abandonment fear. So we could address what's really happening. Whereas before I knew IFS and human design, I would just get flooded with other people's emotions and spend all this time and effort trying to figure out what was mine, what was theirs, how to solve it, writing dissertations about it, analyzing it, trying to fix their problem for them. I don't do that anymore. So when Kayvon is high or low, I recognize, and sometimes it will feel gross, and I'm like, but then I just try to keep myself present and be calm, and that invites him, because the contrast kind of makes him realize, oh yeah, I'm kind of out of order a little bit.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I want to really go into this because this center is so important. If this center is defined, it trumps every other center on the chart, even the defined will center. So this is a powerful center.
Yes.
And the fact that it's going to be fully defined for us as a species in 2027 is major. For those of you who are defined here, I really need you to hear this compassionate message. You have to express. It's a defined center with a motor. You cannot stop your emotional wave. So when you do go to the low point, you can't ever get stuck in depression. So just know that. But I know people with defined emotional centers who went on antidepressants. You don't need to go on antidepressants because you have a motor that's going to kick you out of the depressed state, number one. Number two, we're calling it depression, and we have all this negative stuff associated with it in our culture because we're a culture that's very dissociated from the larger reality. We have a culture that's afraid of the shadow, afraid of the so-called darkness, afraid of the low. It's like we're supposed to be happy cheerleaders all the time, running around spending money. You have to express. You're going to go through a low point. It's not going to last. The people who really can get afraid of being depressed, technically, are those of us who are open or undefined there because we don't have a motor, so we can get stuck in the sludge, and it's like being in a swamp emotionally that you can't get out of. So your partner, if your partner's defined and you guys don't know what is going on and they come and dump on you, they're going to be over it and on to the next thing. And meanwhile, like, they come back to you a few hours later, like, oh, so, what are we going to do for dinner? And you're like, so we're just going to pretend that shit didn't just happen? That just happened? Like, are you kidding me? And you're going to think they're an asshole. But for them, that's their reality, is it's over.
And it's almost as if
it's really over.
It's like the memory is gone. It's like almost, it's almost like your memory goes
and it
away.
Literally, it's to the point where honestly, there was a point where I could not sometimes tell the difference between demonic possession and emotional waves, because in effect, it operates the same way. Because when somebody is possessed by a demon, and I don't mean a triggered or traumatized part, I'm talking about an entity that is not part of your system, they will take over you and cause you to do things, and then you'll literally forget about it. as if you have like dissociative identity disorder. And the same thing happens with emotions. As in the example before, my mom would be like, it's XYZ and it's XYZ, damn it. So then I structure my whole life around XYZ. And then the next week when she says, oh, it's ABC. And I'm like, I just spent $200 buying outfits for XYZ. And then she would either dismiss it or literally not remember that she said XYZ. Yeah. And that can be so crazy making, extremely crazy making. So if you're emotionally undefined or open, you can project onto the emotionally defined person that they're a narcissist, because for you, it's going to feel like they're very narcissistic. Now, an emotionally defined person can be emotionally abusive and narcissistic if they're expressing and dumping and trying to manipulate you with it. And there's a fine line here. Yeah. Because having said that, I also want to say, if you are emotionally defined, you have to express your emotions. Please do not take it that you should suppress yourself if you're around someone who is undefined. That is not correct for you. That will mess you up. It will make you sick. You have to express them, but you can learn to be more elegant. Like Kayvon and I have worked so much on this. Now, when he's hyped or low, he's so aware. So he'll express it, but he doesn't like go overboard and push it on me. Whereas I've been around other defined emotional people who will like dump it on you to manipulate you.
Yes.
And there's a big difference. So if you're emotionally defined, you must express it, but you can learn how to be refined in it. You can recognize that you have a wave and don't get caught up in one point or another. Don't make your decisions in the high or low. Make your decisions when you come to your clear center, the eye of the storm, and just recognize that if you're around somebody who's undefined there, if it gets to be too much, they may ask you to bring it down a notch. If you don't bring it down a notch and they leave the room, you can't be mad at them.
Yeah.
If you're undefined there and someone is consistently overwhelming you and they refuse to refine, you do not have to stay in the room, because that becomes abuse. You go. And it's really serious with this center, because this center is the most powerful center in the system. So if somebody is being emotionally abusive, and in spite of you asking them, hey, you're on 10, could you maybe bring it to 7? I really want to hear what you're saying, but I need you to just tone it down. If they refuse to do that, leave the room, or say, look, let's get back together when you've calmed down because you're really hyped up right now. Let's talk about this later. That's totally correct and appropriate. Emotionally defined people, if those of us who aren't defined do that, you got to accept it. It's not that we're rejecting you. If you feel abandoned, then you've got to learn to tone it down. Your emotionally undefined partner has to learn to be a filtering screen and not a sponge. So everybody has to work here. And it's a 50-50 split. So half of us are the givers, half of us are the receivers here. But this is a really important center. So I think I covered it. You want to do the affirmations and then we can move on? Okay. So open emotional solar plexus. Are you avoiding truth and conflict? Probably are. When we're open in this solar plexus, a lot of us lead secret lives.
Yeah, and because the truth, when they say avoiding truth and conflict, is the wave. The wave brings conflict, and what it brings conflict to is that positive thought that you were just on, and then all of a sudden you have a conflicting thought that goes totally against the positivity. So this wave of conflict versus, you know, what it is that you want, that's a natural part of the emotional wave, because it's kind of like just figuring things out. It has to see it, like I say, it has to see it and view it from all angles. So it creates like this conflict, just, I would say, out of nowhere, just so that it can see the contrast of whatever the issue is. And wow, this is so deep, because I've been trying to figure out gate 6 for like 6 years.
Yeah, I have gate 6.
Like 7 years. I've been trying to figure it out, and I just figured it out just now. So it's just so deep. But anyway, yeah, you know, this conflict is just it's something that's natural for the emotional people, and it's dramatic, and it can bring a lot of drama. And if you're not emotional, you know, this drama it can set you off. And in the emotional beings, you know, we got to know what we're doing. Like, this is your responsibility to be in control, or to understand where you're at within your wave, you know. And I don't know if Michelle, if you spoke on that the mindfulness bell yet.
Yeah, I gave that out already. So
all right, so the mindfulness bell is a tool that emotional people we can use definitely to check us, to check our emotions, to see where we're at within our wave at any given time. I used to set my alarm to every 30 minutes when I first started doing this years ago, back in like 2009, I believe, is when I first came across it, that long ago. And I was really on it. I was really, really on it. So every 30 minutes, I was checking my mood, checking my mentality, and correcting, or seeing if I'm hanging, if I'm holding on, or whatever. But undefined or open emotional people, you guys tend to hold on to things. Anywhere within the chart, the open centers, it can be kind of sticky. So this is the reason why we want to flip the script as far as the screen. But even on the screening, the reflecting, right? The screening is one, but the
Jedi level is the reflecting.
Jedi level is the reflecting. Like, you want to reflect that energy, because the reflectors, they have Teflon auras, meaning the reflectors, they don't get penetrated like everybody else do on the, like, pretty much they're the only ones that really just don't ever really get truly penetrated.
And thank goodness, because can you imagine getting penetrated in all 9 centers?
All 9 centers, that'd be too crazy.
It's the saving grace of the reflector.
Yeah, so
just to kind of finish it off, emotionally defined people, you can end up getting addicted to the drama, and there's a shadow side where you can like the bullying. But then emotionally undefined, the shadow side is we can wallow in victimhood.
Yes.
So everybody's got to do their work. This is a really important center that the whole species has been working on for a very long time. Moving towards 2027 will be a great victory. But I want to also say, and I said it on the call last month, there's great things about being somebody who can have the truth in the now. I'm a sacrally defined person. You can ask me, do you want to do this seminar? Yes or no? Yes, I want to do it. Or if you're, not a manifesting generator, or The emotional person can't answer it in the now. They have to look at why they would want to do it, why they wouldn't want to do it, what's good about it, what's bad about it, blah, blah, blah. So they don't have truth in the now. But when the emotional person does get to their truth, they're not only going to be able to tell you yes or no, they also know why it's a yes or why it's a no.
Yes.
When I get the yes or no from my gut, I can't tell you why. So I can be susceptible because I'm totally open in the mind and crown. My gut is saying yes, but if Kayvon, comes along with his emotions or some agenda and he wants me to say no, it's real easy for me to get confused because the mind can step in, and all I know is my gut is saying yes. I don't know why. So let's say someone wants you to come to their party and your gut is saying no, and they really want you to be there. And they're like, why don't you want to come? I was like, it's a no for me. My gut is saying no. I can't tell you why. So you're susceptible to these pressures. Whereas if you've gone through your whole emotional wave and that party is a no, it's a no. And it's because so-and-so is there. It's because the person who's hosting it is this. It's because it's at this location. And you could give a whole list. The gut can just say yes or no. The spleen can just say yes or no. And the spleen is only going to say it once, so you better listen. Mm-hmm. But knowing, also what I just said earlier, and Kayvon was talking about with the open centers, we start off learning to be a screen and not a sponge. Jedi level is to be a reflector. But know that in these open centers, particularly the solar plexus and the spleen, when you're open and undefined there, you can hold grudges. So just be aware of that. That can be the shadow side of those. So affirmations for the open solar plexus. I can make decisions in the moment. I pay attention to the source of my emotions and allow others to experience their feelings without making their experience my own. So again, I can let Kayvon have his wave. I know what's going on. I know the mechanics. But if I'm around somebody who's emotionally defined, who can't regulate as Kayvon can, because he's way more sophisticated about it, I also have the right to leave the room, knowing it's not my emotional experience. I'm very sensitive and I trust my insights about other people's feelings. I take frequent breaks when the emotional energy is too intense. You have total permission to take a break when you're undefined. Now, defined solar plexus, I take my time making decisions and know that I reach clarity over time. I am here to be deliberate, not spontaneous. So that's the other important thing. When you're defined in the solar plexus, you're not here to be spontaneous. And that's something else I've noticed with us too. I'm very spontaneous, and Kayvon has to go through things in a different way. So that's something, you know, if you have one open and one defined person in the relationship, just know that you might just have to work around that. You might have different ways of going about things.
Yes.
Heart.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, backing up to the heart.
The heart is associated with, of course, the heart. This is the will center heart as opposed to G center. The stomach, very important. I'm sure you'll get into that.
Also, when she say it's the physical heart. So the
physical
G
heart.
center is the heart chakra, center of chest. Physical heart space is the heart, which is located slightly to the, well, it used to be more to the left. Now, I don't know, man. That heart is kind of like in the center area, man. This Mandela effect is strong. The reality is shifting. So now our stuff is moving around. It's in different places. So,
but at any rate, we're talking about the physical heart now, as opposed to the G center identity direction center. This is the physical heart, willpower. It's associated with the stomach, the gallbladder, and the thymus, and it's one of the 4 motors. So again, if you have a heart center, the will heart center connected to the throat, it will make you a manifester or manifesting generator.
Yes.
So 65% of us have an undefined will center, and that's really important to know, because the massive program, especially in the modern world, is based on a defined will center. You know, you got to use your willpower to make things happen, and the vast majority of us are not designed to use willpower to make things happen. Only 35% of us have that grip on the willpower.
Yes, and it's supremely important, because I just found out that because I have a completely open, meaning no activations, no channels coming from my willpower center, this was a part of the reason why I had so many stomach issues growing up. Not only me being a projector and totally just behaving like I was a generator, but on top of that, I have an open G center. So if you have an open G center and an open heart, people with an open G center, people see you and they look at you as if you don't have a direction. Meaning they look at you as if you're confused. And then if you don't have a defined heart center, then they look at you as being lazy and not determined. Yes. So the heart center is connected to our willpower and our determination, because the heart center is connected to our tribal ego self. So the ego, meaning the actual body, the physical body, the ego equals the physical body. Ego isn't the mind. It's the physical body itself.
But there is a mind ego.
But there is a mind ego. There's a personality crystal.
Yeah.
Right. But the ego is the actual body itself. So this is the real reason why you can't really kill your ego, because if you do, you're just talking about killing your physical body. So that's super important to understand. Like it's here for a reason. Yeah,
just like in IFS, when we have a part that's not functioning in a healthy way, we don't want to get rid of that part. We just want to unburden it and bring it up to date and get it to be more self-led. So the ego is just like a part. Like, we don't want to get rid of it. It has a function. It's very important. I mean, we're here to differentiate. Otherwise, we wouldn't. Kayvon and I would just be one amorphous blob. Yes. So the ego is necessary. And yes. there's like some Zen saying or something. You at least need enough ego to not walk in front of a moving bus. So
yes,
it has a purpose.
So it definitely has a purpose. And that a part of the purpose is that it applies pressure. It's another pressure center. But it's a different type of pressure than the mind and the root. But this pressure, I would say it creates pressure. And like I would say on the stomach issue, it really does.
Yes.
Whenever you get hit with some kind of just ego hit or where you have to like use willpower or your determination to kind of get things done. which is like where a lot of us were forced to kind of live out of. This is why America has so much heart disease, because trying to live life as a manifester when you're supposed to either respond or wait to be invited or wait 28 days, whenever you don't follow your design, you go directly into the smallest center within your chart and you overpower it to the max. You feel crazy pressure because it's connected to the tribal. It's connected to you and your family and your loved one, your loved ones, the people that you're taking care of. So having an open heart, you're open to humanity. The whole entire humanity is like your tribe. But when you have it defined, literally, you have a set grip on this energy, then you don't feel that crazy stomach pressure. Like you don't get that sickening stomach. You have the energy for it. You have the energy to make magic happen. The heart center is the center because it's willpower and determination. This is literally like the cheat code center. And I noticed the reason why it's so small, because it's so magical. You can literally make anything happen dealing with this. This is the one center that I've physically seen people override. I believe
you can override your whole design if this center is defined.
My mom is a cancer survivor. And we did it the conscious way. We did it through herbs and things like that. But she has her heart center defined. And all I know is she was about to die. And then she determined that she wanted to live. And when she determined that she wanted to live, that cancer, which was at stage 4, which is almost the death stage, was out of her system within 3.5-4 weeks. Because
no chemo,
with no radiation, no surgery, no nothing, just gone because
alkaline diet and specific herbs,
and mental, and just getting your mind right as far as just wanting to be here. So, I've seen people get turned down for jobs, and then because they have this center defined, go to the job and get the job. I've seen people, me personally, even just with an ex, my baby's mother. We were down $2,300 for rent, and then the weekend appeared, and then after the weekend, she had about $4,000. So it's like, you can make stuff happen. I mean, magically, but because this center it's not meant to be relied on like that. It's literally, like I say, because it's so tribal. It's meant to take care of the tribe. It's a no nonsense type of energy. It's not a fun and games type of energy at the end of the day. This is why when people get into their ego mode, a lot of people get, they're like, oh, this person is being egotistical. You have an attitude with them, because it's not a pretty thing when you have to like really grind down and really, try to make the magic happen and break the rules of reality just so that you can live. It's so oppressive for some folks to where if these willpower center people aren't here, it won't allow us to magically get over that hump. This whole ascension thing and this initiation into our higher self, the one center that's responsible for that is that heart. It's the heart center. It has the center gate 25 and 51. It has the channel of initiation. So through the heart center is how we get initiated into the awareness, into the beingness of our higher self. So this heart center is a supremely magical center. And it ain't no joke. And but if you have it open and undefined, you just got to know you can feel a lot of pressure to do things and to be someone. And if you don't have it, if you have it completely open, you're not egotistical. And as a matter of fact, like you run away from people that are too heavy into their egos. It's a total turnoff when you have these centers and it's specifically for people who have these centers completely. When you have it just undefined with like maybe an activation, then you have a part of your ego activated, within this, but it's just an open ego. You know, it's
you
a
still
flexible.
will feel the pressure, but definitely not as much as the completely open one. But like I was raised by a dad who had a defined ego center, and I was getting straight A's at school and doing all type of after school, this, that, and the other. And I remember he was calling me lazy. And I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, are you serious? And then he made me redo. I was in second grade. He made me redo my entire math homework because he said it was too messy. And I was just like, are you serious? Because I felt like I had to work overtime just to keep up with the expectations. And then I was getting called lazy. So the difference between the defined versus undefined or open is so intense and humongous. And if you have it defined, just be aware that you can be inadvertently placing a lot of pressure and judgment on other people because they're not designed to be like you. If you're defined there, you're here to prove yourself. You chose an incarnation to prove something, literally. If you're open or undefined there, you are not here to prove yourself. Don't try, let it go, give it up. If you were raised by a parent who was defined and you're not defined there, you might want to do some IFS to clear out that programming because you're already good enough. You're not here to use willpower. You don't have to get the gold medal.
Well, you're not here to use willpower in a sense where you're not here to be pressured into using your will.
You can't rely on that to override your strategy and authority.
Yes, willpower is supposed to, when you have it open and undefined, or especially undefined, you are here to apply that willpower specifically to what it is that you love, what it is that you enjoy. It doesn't matter what other people see within you and say, oh yeah, I see you on stage singing the song or whatever, and go do it. No. If you feel crazy, overpressured, and it's giving you stomach aches and stuff like that, then that's a number one sign to let you know that you're being pressured into something that you may not really feel that's right for you.
Yeah, you're not here to like go the extra mile. When someone is defined here, they can really go the extra mile.
Celebrities.
Yes.
So many superstar musicians, Michael Jackson and people like them, they have these defined heart centers because they have that determination, that willpower, and that drive.
And also just enough ego to get up on stage in front of thousands, millions of people. Like that takes a lot. It's not easy to do that. So it's a special power. And we watched that documentary, 20 Feet from Stardom. And there's all these people out there with voices just as good as Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey. I don't know Mariah's design, but if they don't have that defined willpower center, they may end up being a backup singer just because to sustain a career of a pop star like that is so demanding. If you don't have this defined, man,
you ain't gonna
this
care.
is why a lot of these, and I think this is,
up.
apart from whatever you want to say about what the Illuminati's doing and how things are being manipulated, I think a lot of these famous people are dying young just because they amped up, they pushed their kundalini way too hard, they tried to act like this was defined when it wasn't, and they're talented, but just because you're talented doesn't mean you have the energy to do a touring schedule of like performing 6 nights a week for 3 months or whatever these crazy things they do. Yeah. So if you don't have this, exactly, Ian, they literally break down. So you got to know this. Centers where you're not defined, if you try to overuse them, it will take a toll on your body.
Yes. Yes. So
you want to do the affirmations?
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty good. We're making decent time. We're I think for open-minded crown, we're doing really well. Good job. Okay, open will center. What are you trying to prove? Remember that you're not here to prove anything. Affirmations for the open will center. I make promises very deliberately and only according to my human design strategy. I have nothing to prove and I value myself deeply. I ask to be paid what I am worth fearlessly and confidently. So just remember that you have nothing to prove, and don't make promises that you can't keep. In fact, try not to make promises at all. Just really try not to. I mean, if you're following your strategy and authority, you're going to say yes to the right things and no to the right things. But just really with the open will center, be really careful about making promises and try, it can sound good at the time. It might be a good vision that looks good and makes you feel kind of good, but just just avoid it. And even before human design, I started to really learn this, that the yoga practice that I was doing was really making me feel like I wanted to be in integrity. And I just really started to say no to a lot of things and stop making promises I couldn't keep. Now, if it's defined will center, be gentle with others who don't seem to be able to just do it in the way that you can. The truth is that most people don't have willpower and need to enter into their commitments in a different way than you. So your affirmations are, it is important for me to rest and recharge my willpower. So kind of like the sacral, just because the will center is defined, it doesn't mean that it's unlimited. When you're tired, rest. That goes for everybody. But a lot of times people with a defined will center, I'm thinking of a projector we know with a defined will center who will just push and push and push and push and push and push, and then she'll have to sleep for like a week straight.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's when you're tired, rest, man. Respect your body, especially you mental types. Respect the body. If you're defined, I make promises deliberately and honor them. It's going to be important for you to honor your promises. It's going to be important for your ego to honor the promises, so make them deliberately. I am gentle with my expectations of others. I understand that not everyone can just do the things I can. So let's all be compassionate towards one another, because whether it's open and undefined or defined, there's challenges either way. So just respect our differences in that center, because it's a real important one.
Yes. And
okay, so I gave the stats for that. So 65% have an undefined will center, and we're going to the spleen. 45% of us have an undefined spleen.
Yeah, the spleen. The spleen is a center that rarely gets talked about as far as I just through my research, just in all type of systems. People rarely speak on the spleen, but the spleen is so important. The spleen is super important to the body because it is our immune center. And
I didn't say the spleen is a center for intuition, time awareness, the lymph nodes, of course, the immune system, survival-based intuition. It gives short-lived messages, so the spleen's message only comes once, so listen, because the spleen's only going to say it once. And it's the feel-good center.
Yes. So the spleen, because it operates like on an impulse, this is the main reason why, it doesn't give you the same, it doesn't speak twice. This is it literally, it's like a sonar wave that it shoots out, and whatever it touches through, whatever the wave touches, it sends like a ping back, and it alerts you to specific energy or whatever it is. So you can be driving down the street, and then all of a sudden something will tell you to make a left turn. And if you don't make that left turn, then next thing you know, you're running into like crazy traffic, and you're sitting there for like 45 minutes. So the spleen can be real fast, when it's especially when it's defined. A lot of times, if it's open, you won't even know it's there. So the people that have it completely open are literally considered like daredevils, and this is how we know who are the risk takers and who's dealing with fear and who's not.
Yeah, when you see those like YouTube videos of people doing these crazy tricks, like with skateboards or all the crazy what is it called?
Type.
Yeah, and what's the parkour people? Some of those crazy parkour people, undefined spleen, crazy stuff. They're tight. That guy who did the tightrope walk from I think it was the Empire State Building or something. There's some famous guy who did a tight. I'm sure he had an undefined spleen.
Zero spleen.
Yeah. He probably had a totally open.
Totally open, because the spleen, it warns you. It literally, because it's the immune system, is very connected with survival of the body. So if you don't have it defined, then and you have it completely open, then you can see how, literally, it's totally just it's here to learn everything that there is to learn about surviving and keeping the body healthy. So having an open splenic center means that you are psychically open, completely psychically open and aware. It is our psychic. It is the second psychic center, but it's the main. I don't even know if it's main really. Both of them are strong, but the crown is the first, is one, and the spleen is the second. And so having a lot of activations within the spleen, this is a sign of an extremely psychic person. Meaning, and activations, I mean like literal channels or the gates that's coming out. And so this is how we can tell who's psychic, or I mean, who has that, you know, propensity to be that psychic type person or not. We're all psychic when it comes to being connected. We all have a psychic telepathic connection to each other. But when I mean psychic, I mean like these people, you can trust what their spleen is telling you. You can trust that vision, that psychic vision or that psychic awareness that they're having, because that center is defined and they have it, you know, it's working. They're not the student, or they're not learning. That's not a learning center. You know what I mean? This is something that they can pull from. So you can be very masterful when it comes to your defined areas. You know, these are the areas where you can master certain energies. Also, just, you know, with the spleen being open, just understanding that, you know, this amplifies your intuition as well. The spleen is also responsible for our intuition. So not only are you a woman, you know, like I always say, they have a woman's intuition or whatever. Just literally, the intuition comes from here. It comes from that spleen. And it's totally different than the natural intuition that you would have. I would say that a woman would have that is carrying a baby. You know, I believe that's where that woman's intuition comes from. That's different than just the average normal the intuitive center, because having a full entire being inside of you, you need that extra connection. You know, that extra awareness on top of what it is that you already have.
Victoria says the spleen is also disappointment in mankind.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I can see how, I can definitely see how it can be seen as that, but the spleen doesn't really have that much of a personality. It's so much of a function. You know, it's like literally, it's just complete awareness without any feeling. It's just telling you to turn left. It don't care if you do it or not. It's just letting you know. So the emotions, I would say the emotions definitely would be, because you get a chance to really see what humanity is being with the emotions. The emotions is the center that allows you to see it from all angles, and then be able to come up with a judgment. So the fact that this, you know, being in a disappointment in mankind means that it made a judgment. But at the same time, it's so deep though, because the channel of judgment is connected. It is connected to the spleen, but I think it's a two-part process, because the spleen, it doesn't do that up and down thing to see it from all angles, but the spleen does know it. It
has truth like that.
Yeah, it has so
fast.
It has like this, because it sees it, like I say, that wave. It can see what's going on. So some people are only splenic, and their truth is within that, like it carries everything. But this is just the order of things, just so you can know. Splenic, when it comes to just the power of the awareness, splenic is the least powerful, then it's the gut, and then it's the emotions. So when it comes to when it comes to just having more, I would say more personality, more attitude or whatever, that emotional center definitely does trump the spleen. But that is so deep, because I can see how it can make that judgment, because if it's constantly fighting, the immune system is constantly, like, we're constantly at war. There it is. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's because we're constantly at war. The spleen is getting taxed. The spleen is getting overtaxed with just every time I think about the spleen, and if I think about the spleen and I say war, my eyes get stupidly big. It's because the spleen is so worried and so afraid of just like the body not being here to where it'll stress it out. And the spleen defined is connected to the fear gate as well. So having a defined spleen will make you seem fearful. It will make you seem, it will make you have the bug eye. It will make your eyes be big. You will have the round, big eyes, having a defined spleen, because it's literally looking at everything and trying to, you know, put it into a form in a simple way to where it can just give you something and then you take it and you use it. But because we're either, you know, if we use our gut, then you won't be able to have any truth in that. If you are emotional, you definitely won't be able to have any truth in that other than just the awareness that it brings, and you carry it through the wave and you can use it through the wave, but it gets trumped by the other centers.
Yeah, the spleen can give you truth in the now, and I have the channel of the brainwave. So what happens is that I can get knowing so quickly, and it's kind of like the knowings of the gut. I don't know how I know it, but I'll just know stuff. And it's easy to dismiss it because, you know, if you have certain mental programs, you can think, well, how could I possibly know that? There's no way I could really know that. So my spleen is connected, it's not just fear, it's this channel of the brainwave. So it's this deep, quick knowing that can happen. But this idea that it's disappointment in mankind, it reminds me of some of the discussion I've seen about how like sociopaths and psychopaths would be people who on the left side of the chart, which is the spleen side, would have activations and not have a lot of activations on the right side, which is the emotional side. So for them, they'd feel like devoid of emotion. They could feel really detached from emotion. And gate 36, which is coming on the emotional side, is like the most human gate of all. It makes you like the most human. You feel the most emotional, alive, fleshy type of way if you have that gate activated. So I could see on the other side, if you're really heavy on the left side, the spleen side, and don't have a lot of awareness on the right, you could feel a sort of disappointment and detachment, and you could even become sort of sociopathic if that were going on. And I've seen those type of arguments.
Yes.
Can I?
So
do you want more? Can I do the affirmation?
Yeah. So just like I say, the spleen center is just important, and to know and to nurture and to, you know, open up to listening and understanding that you too are psychic. You know, because you have the spleen, it's still working. It's still a psychic awareness center. It's just you may not have it defined and have a set grip on it. But to know, you know, the fearless nature comes from the people with the undefined spleens. And but I would say the fearful nature comes from people with the defined, but the fear is not really fear, it's just awareness. It's just over awareness. So if I'm aware, I was just speaking to someone about this the other day, you know, if I was to bungee jump, me having I have a bunch of activations in my spleen, I'm defined. The only difference between me and somebody with an undefined spleen is the undefined spleen are just like, heck yeah, I'll do it. Because the undefined spleen is testing the limits to survivability. So the open spleen, you're going to be testing your survivability. The defined spleen, you're like trying to preserve it. You know, you ain't really trying to really test it like that. You know, you've already been there. You've already learned that lesson. So now it's defined. So you'll be just, like I say, bug-eyed and aware, you know, and if I was to see myself bungee jumping, I'll see myself completing the bungee jump. But I also see myself hitting the bottom and dying. I'll see myself hitting the bottom and then getting hurt. I have all of these different like probabilities that could possibly happen because I'm emotionally and I have the emotions and the spleen defined. So I'll see it from all of these crazy different angles, and it'll give me pause. It'll give me caution. So the enlightened version of the spleen is, you know, it's having that proper caution just to, you know, absorb the surroundings, just to make sure that everything is in place. So it'll give you that proper pause so that you can maybe ask a question, because your spleen might say, hey, look, this thing could come apart over here. So ask the guy this, and then you go and you ask the guy that. An undefined person will just go and take it, strap up and be like, let's go. So
Yeah, I want to say a couple more things about the undefined spleen just briefly. So the spleen is the feel-good center, and something you should know if you have an undefined spleen or if you're raising a child with an undefined spleen, it can cause you to be clingy or kind of needy because the open spleen wants the feel-good feelings of a defined spleen. Remember that this is the immune system. So when it's undefined, your immune system is very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
You may require lower doses of medications, and any type of medicines you're taking, just know for you, lower doses may be better. If you have a defined spleen, it might take you longer to realize when you're sick. So you may realize you're sick when it's quote unquote, I don't want to say too late, but later in the game. So be aware of your health. Children with an undefined spleen are going to be a little more needy. You know, Kayvon's son is a 4-6 manifester with an open spleen. So he's got open sacral, open spleen, and he's a 4. He wants a lot of nurturing and being around people. The 4 wants to be around people. We'll talk about that next week. So he wants a lot of kind of being around people. The spleen needs that to feel good and feel safe. The spleen needs that to kind of learn about boundaries and stuff because it's undefined. So
Yes.
He doesn't have his own set, and I've noticed this being his stepmom, we'd go to the park and stuff and he'd ask me, do you think I can jump off this platform? Do you think I can jump off from here? He'd always ask me before he did it. He's asking my spleen to tell him, is it safe to jump?
Because he has no fear. He'll just
He doesn't have his own fear sense. If you have a defined spleen, something in your body will tell you, better not try that. And that's why I ended up quitting gymnastics. I was really good at the tumbling and stuff, but when it came to what is it called, the vault, my coach would be like, you run and you run and you run, and then you get to the vault and you slow down. Yeah, because my spleen was wow, I could break my wrist, I could break my neck, I could do all this stuff. And it's not that I didn't have the physical skill to do it. It's just the spleen, and my spleen was no, because I have a lot of activations in my spleen. So open spleen center, just know that you can seem clingy, but it's because of your design. You're open there. So you may need to get around people with a defined spleen frequently, and that's okay. So open spleen center, are you holding on to things for longer than you should? So remember and know, if your spleen is defined, you can hold on to relationships even when they're past due and stale because you just want the spleen defined. You can hold on to situations longer than is good for you. Really know this. It's really important because maybe you're hanging around people that really aren't that nice to you, but you just want the camaraderie.
Or the environment is toxic.
You don't have that defined spleen to let you know. So just be aware of this. So affirmations for the open spleen. I easily let go of all things that do not serve my highest good.
Yes.
I honor my body and the messages it sends me. When I feel sick, I rest. I honor my sense of timing and know that whenever I arrive is just perfect. So apparently open spleen people have a problem being on time. I thought it was open emotional people too.
Yeah.
But maybe it's both.
Yeah, it's spleen.
Open spleen, if an open spleen person says to you, I'll be there in 20 minutes, could be an hour. They don't know. Don't take their word for it.
Yeah. Yes.
But see, I have that problem too. I really, people used to joke about me, but I have a defined spleen, so I don't know if it's because of my open solar plexus, open emotions. Because the emotional wave is what brings you into the past and the future, and you have a sense of time moving. When you don't have your own emotional wave, you're just so much in the now, you don't have the same kind of sense of time moving. So apparently that's majorly happening with the spleen. So I respect other people's sense of time and always wear a watch. So we got to be careful with homogenization because Kayvon and I don't wear watches, and I know that could easily be something we would coach other people to not do because I'm all about decolonization and getting off the colonizers' time and stuff. But if you have an undefined spleen, you might need to wear a watch, and guess what? That's okay.
Or you can tune into the rays of the sun.
Yeah.
And the moon.
You can have a
connect
solar.
To the universal waves of the reality. But just even with time, and just getting on since she was bringing up the time thing, we're moving into the fifth dimensional frequency, which is no time, which is flow. So the new time is going to be about the flow. And I would say, you know, even if you feel like you do need to wear a watch now, you know, when we conquer time, we gain control over it. So a lot of, like today, my son, he doesn't have a defined spleen. He doesn't have a watch, but he needed to know, he wanted to go downstairs for like 45 minutes for an hour. Yeah. So the watch would have came in handy as a timer, you know what I mean? But as far as being on time for things and stuff like that, we're moving more so into the flow of the reality. And this is why I say the emotions trump. It trumps that. It trumps every other center. It trumps a lot of the centers, because the emotional wave won't really allow you to be like that all the time.
Yeah. But, you know, this is I don't know about you. For me, this is a good lesson about homogenization, because I know I would have coached people to give up a watch. But if you're splenically undefined and you need a watch, because let's say you want to be at a movie on time and you hate missing the previews, you know, if you need a watch, you need a watch. You might need a, you know, you can use a watch as a reminder, but just as a, even so, it's just still playing a tightrope game with time right about now. Yeah, just being flexible about just time in general, because time is speeding up, slowing. It's like all type of stuff is happening. Okay, last affirmation for the Open Spleen Center. I trust my intuition and know that I receive intuitive insights in many different ways. So your intuition comes kind of like my inspiration with the open mind and crown. It's coming from outside of you. So just be aware of that. You got to be careful about following intuition with an open spleen, because you're picking up other people's intuition, which may be right for you sometimes and not other times. Now, when your spleen is defined, know the spleen speaks one time and that's it. So it's like, hear me now, because I won't say it again. I'm going to tell you this one time. That's how the spleen goes. So your affirmations are, with the defined spleen center: I trust my intuition. I listen to my body. I rest and take care of myself. So everybody's got to hear that, whether it's defined or undefined. And I don't care what your chart is. When you're tired, rest. Everybody, just everybody. We've been so programmed to disrespect our bodies. Yeah. So just listen to the body. Get in the body. Listen to the body. I honor my sense of time. I remember that not everyone is as fast as me, and I flow with universal timing.
Yes.
So that's the defined spleen.
Universal timing is real.
Now, you want to do the sacral?
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of honoring the body, I got to use the restroom. So the spleen, 45% of the population has an undefined spleen. When it comes to the sacral, 35% of the population, so all reflectors, manifestors, and projectors, have the undefined sacral. So I'm going to use the restroom while you go on about the sacral. Is that cool? And I'll be right back. Okay.
So coming down almost to the nitty gritty, and I just want to thank you guys for hanging in there and staying tuned in and absorbing this info, because we're all becoming greater, which is amazing. So just speaking on the sacral energy. The sacral energy literally is is one of our creativity centers, but also it's the chi center located within our body system. So, aka the sacral chakra, which gives us that long-lasting endurance. And this is how we determine who are generators or manifesting generators, because you have that defined sacral energy, and it's connected. And well, literally, it's just defined and turned on. This is also one of the motor centers. So, and motor meaning it has the energy. It literally has the energy to move. It has the ability to move the energy from its center towards the throat. So it has the ability to literally move the energy and the energy around. So if you have this energy center open, then you're going to be either a reflector, projector, or manifester. But remember, the reflectors and the projectors are the non-energy types. Even though the manifester does not have this center defined, it's considered to be an energy type because it has the manifestors, they have one of their motors connected to the throat. So any motor connected to the throat, aka the expressional center, it becomes what we call energy beings. And the energy people are literally like responsible for keeping the energy going within the reality. You're going to be having the careers, the jobs, you're going to be building the houses. You know, you're going to be involved in creating these structures that are a lot more permanent than certain mental illusions. So the pyramids, the great pyramids that you see that's lasting like eons and eons, you know, years and hundreds, thousands of years. The reason why it's lasting so long is because these weren't only mental creations. They came from the actual, from our core creation center, you know, because the sacral is also responsible for joy and delight. And the intention behind the pyramids was to bring people into this enlightened stage, this blissful and enlightened type of reality. So anything that's dealing with the feelings of joy and delight, any creations that's coming from there, I mean, any idea that you have, like a lot of the times it's coming from the sacral. The sacral deals in joy and delight. Mental creations don't really have a feeling based on them. They have a lot of information attached to them. Mental creations have a lot of information attached. Sacral creations have a lot of feeling attached. Has a lot of like I say, that joyous, that satisfied feeling. You know, feeling satisfied after the creation because it lasts. So children, you know, it's also the sexual energy center. So children are created, you know, you, me, you, we all were created and birthed through and from, you know, well, from this center. This is where that sexual energy was created. So that sacral, when you're open there, completely open, you're here to test the waters of the sexual energy, to test the waters of that, of being able to understand what that kundalini is, or what that creative, what a kundalini is more so, I would say, the root.
Probably.
But you know, it's definitely felt heavy when in the sacral area. So just being open there, you got to know you pull in the sacral energy of others around you and you amplify them. So this is what creates super reflectors and what I call super projectors. And if you don't know this, then you will think that you have to go out there to, you know, do hardcore physical labor in order to be alive or in order to get things done. Only the generators and the manifesting generators are the ones that literally can work these overtime hours, that can work these long shifts, because they represent such a huge population. You know, when we talked about that during our first video, the 65 to 70% population with these manifesting generators and generators. So, you know, this energy, sexual energy, we all know the United States is totally oversaturated with sexual energy, you know, because the majority of the reality is generators. So being open to that, completely open, you know, you are totally set off. And a lot of sexual addictions can come from these open centers because you want that energy. The energy, remember the white and the open and undefined were students. Or these are the courses in life. Matter of fact, is more correct with being the courses. So you're here taking a full course in sex education and creation and nurturing of the body, you know, and when I mean creation, you know, being able to start things and having the energy to finish it. A lot of crafters, they have a lot of strong. They can have if you're good at crafting, you know, or you like crafting, being around, and you're not a generator or you don't have this center defined, you know, when you come around people with this center defined, your creativity will be boosted up ×2. you know, you'll have the energy to like craft things out and to complete things. So the generators, you guys have a very, you know, your energy is very important. You know, having it defined, or even having it open for us projectors and reflectors and manifestors, because it's open. We get a chance to kind of gauge you guys and to see what's really going on with the energy. And as a projector, it allows us to help. It allows us to, you know, to doctor you up when it comes time to, because when you have this center defined, literally, you know, you're wrapped up within the energy. You're in it. You're working. Your body needs to move, but also it gets depleted. So understanding that the one on the one end, you have like this unlimited source of energy with having a, you know, defined sacral, but it literally like it fills up.
Well, I don't like the word unlimited with it. I would say reliable.
No. When I say unlimited, what I mean by unlimited is it ain't gonna never stop filling up.
Right.
And then it depletes.
Right.
When you're done.
Right.
And then when you're done, it recharges. That's why I put down here, it recharges. It deals with the energy of recharging and regeneration. And it'll literally regenerate itself and it'll fill itself back up. It does that unlimited. Like
of course.
there's no.
Yeah, the process will never end. The only issue I take with unlimited is that then you have these tired generators thinking my energy's unlimited when their body's telling them to rest.
Yeah.
Like when it depletes, rest. So it's reliable, but not unlimited in the sense that it goes through a cycle, and when it's at the downtime, you got to rest for it to fill back up. But it's unlimited in the sense that it's always going to fill back up.
And you can, and you're going to always be able to rely on it. You're never going to be without it.
Yeah.
Only, like I say, during the rest period. And when I say the rest period, it literally, and even when it does so-called deplete down, it depletes down until just this pool of energy that's always there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like as a manifesting generator, I can go through the night and have insomnia and not sleep, and the next day I might be mentally tired, but I will still have energy. It's so annoying sometimes because I still have to run it out like a manifesting generator and go through my day where I feel tired kind of mentally and psychologically because I didn't sleep and I didn't dream, but the energy still comes back. And really important to know here the difference between the defined and undefined center here, because people who don't have the center defined, you don't have your own life force energy. So those of us who have it defined, we cannot expect them to keep up in the same way. Even Junior, he's an emotional manifester. So when he's hyped up, we'll go on a bike ride, and the way to the beach, he's hyped up. Great time. Everything's fun. He loves it. He can go up the hills. On the way home, when he's depleted and it's not as exciting because we're going home, oh my God, the drama. Oh, I gotta rest. Going on hikes in Colorado, I had to learn, like, he would get excited and want to keep hiking through the property, and I had to learn at a certain point to say, well, let's turn around, because if we didn't, he would be really hyped up on the way out, and then on the way back, he'd want me to like carry him home. We're at 9,300 feet. I'm not carrying you home, dude. You got to get home. But he was going off his emotions and not his sacral. He was kind of going off mine. And then when the emotions died down and he was bored because we're going home, it was hell. So just, you know, we've got to be real compassionate with each other. If you're a manifesting generator, you're not going to have a good time if you have to sit in a confined space for a long period of time. So you might have a hard time with long road trips. Whereas if your partner is a projector, they can sit for long periods of time.
All day long.
And if you're like me and you want to stop every 2 hours and do yoga at the rest stop, your partner may not feel like he wants to do that every 2 hours. So just, you know, be aware that you have different needs because you're designed differently. And it's a huge difference between a defined and undefined sacral. Huge.
Yes.
Can I do the affirmations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, you can always review our free video on the aura types to just get into the whole issue of the slavery with the defined sacral, because I don't want to get into that too much here, but you know, you gotta You gotta follow your strategy and design, because us defined sacral people, you can really get enslaved because people want that energy. Even people with it defined want your sacral energy, and people with it undefined, they wanna, when they're in the not self, they can really try to co-opt you and use your energy up because they need it to build what they want to build. So
just put it like this: the slavery question, the issue. This is the main reason why I actually chose to be a human design consultant, like a human design teacher, whatever you want to call me. This is the reason why I'm doing this, is because that slavery, it got to go. Like, I do not believe in it. I don't think it's right on any level. And a lot of generators were being taken advantage of because of this energy that you have, this defiant sacral, this chi center that's constantly pumping, and your work ethic, and the fact that when you sign the contract, you can't get out of it, and this is something super important, because the sacral energy is the reason why. The sacral energy locks you into contracts, because once the energy is filled up, and it's geared towards a specific thing, then it expects to use its energy until it depletes all the way down. So that can be 30 years at a job, 40, it can be however long at a job that you may not necessarily, that you liked at first. At first you liked it, you was getting money, it was good. But you didn't know that that you're literally on a train ride now until the energy wanes out. And that can take a long time if you so what generators has, generators is just a message for generators. But you have to just understand that your contracts and what you say yes and no to is that much more important. So following your strategy and authority is super important, because if you don't, this is how you get slaved out.
And this is how people get stuck in abusive marriages, whether men or women, because they signed a marriage contract and they're a generator and they can't get out.
Yes.
So the best thing to do, especially as a pure generator, because manifesting generators, we could kind of jump off the train, we'll like break an arm. A generator who jumps off the train will probably break their neck. Mm-hmm. So just really work at making sure you only get involved in good contracts in the first place. If you're inside of a bad contract, get help to get out. If you're in a bad relationship that's abusive, just get help, especially as a pure generator, get help. I'm getting off topic because we're trying to just do the centers and not the types, but generators and manifesting generators, we got to learn how to ask questions and we got to learn how to ask for help. But the sacral, so as Kayvon said, sexual, it's a motor. It's obviously associated with the ovaries and the testes, the reproductive organs. Questions for the open sacral center. Do you know when enough is enough?
Oh, wait.
You don't.
Projectors?
You don't know when enough is enough. So remember, projectors, you get the nap pass. Manifestors, when you're tired, just go to sleep. Just do it. With manifestors, are they supposed to still wind down? Or is that just manifesting generators?
Manifesting generators.
Yeah, when you're because that's Junior. He just turns off and goes to sleep. Manifestors, when you're tired, go to sleep. Reflectors, just rest all the time. And projectors, when you're tired, take a nap. When you have an undefined sacral, you don't know when enough is enough. So you really got to practice tuning into when you feel tired. When you have it defined, when enough is enough, let it be enough and rest. Take rest. Okay, open sacral center, affirmations. I am not here to work in the traditional way. You're not a builder. I can work hard in short bursts, and then I need alone time to discharge the extra energy I carry. Because you absorb or you magnify other people's sacral. So you got to discharge it, but not through working like as if you're a super generator when you're not a generator. I recognize that my energy is mutable and I take care of myself and let go of the expectations of others. So if you're in gym class and your teacher wants you to run the 2 mile, you're not here to run the 2 mile. Leave it to the generators. You could be a sprinter, but that's it.
I was the worst athlete. I always tell people this. I won all my track meets. I had a full scholarship, college and everything, and I won every track meet in high school, won every track meet in college. And I hated it. I hated running. I hated Oh my God, I hated doing the running stuff. Like, cause I don't have that defined sacral, so I just hated it. It felt like I was dying. Everything that you feel. So all my reflectors and projectors, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so just respect yourself. And finally, I am very powerful when I am using my energy correctly. So just like as an IFS, we taught the parts, we're not trying to take their power away. We're trying to empower all your parts by having them self-led. Same thing with all the types. We're trying to empower everybody by having us follow our design. Okay, affirmations for the defined sacral center. I wait with grace and patience, knowing that the right opportunities will show up for me. Because remember, we're here to wait to respond, even those manifesting generators. All I have to do is respond to the world, and I will joyfully do the right work and be with the right people. Remember, defined sacral means you're here to respond. I fearlessly honor my response and know that I am internally driven to be in the right time at the right place, doing the right work. No H, yeah, that's okay though. Okay, and then the last one is the root.
Yeah.
Oh, now sacral, defined sacral, I said the statistics, 35% have an undefined sacral. When it comes to the root, 40% of us have an undefined root center. The root center is the adrenaline center. It is also considered one of the 2 pressure centers, but as Kayvon said, I think it's safe to also consider the will center a pressure center, because if you have a defined will center, other people will feel that as a pressure, and you will too. But the traditional human design, the pressure centers are the root and the crown. So the root is one of the pressure centers, the other being the head center. The root center energy operates in pulses.
Yes. So So the root center, one super important thing about the root center, and I was saying it earlier about our actual spiritual evolution, and how we can look at your chart and determine if you're really ready to exit the matrix just all the way. Certain people that I speak to, I can look at their chart and I just know this is totally your last lifetime. And everybody, a lot of people, they be saying that, but in true reality, there are some folks here who are really literally, this is your last, you're done. Your energy is ready to exit. And it's just funny that it exits, the energy exits through the root. When I first got this information, I was just tripped out because I was thinking I was thinking about the crown, the root to the crown, and then you out. But no, you literally drop in from the top and then you work your way down through the system. And then once you go down into the root, you leave the root and you go back to your 0 point. So the 0 point is where we're trying to get released back into. And from the 0 point, you can traverse any realm. You can traverse any frequency. So getting back to our 0 point is super important. And the root center symbolizes getting back to that 0 point. Also, this is the area, the root, which is connected to that base chakra, which is also where the Kundalini is. So this is why I believe it's the adrenaline center area, because that Kundalini energy is like this blast of energy, and it can be like adrenaline when you get it activated. It shoots up the spine and then it starts to clear and activate everything, throughout the system. Also, the out-of-body experience in the OBE channel is located within the out-of-body experience / lucid dreaming activation is located within the root. So, and this is where the mystical path starts. So it's like a starting and a finishing center, which is weird, but that's just the way it works. Mm-hmm. So it's like a loop, you loop yourself through the system and then you come back to your base and then you exit. So before you exit the matrix completely, you have to go through all of the centers, and then you have to rise through all of the centers, and then you have to go back down through all of the centers. so that you can bring back down the information that you gained from your rising. So, and this is what the in and out breath is. That, you know, it's literally like the rising and then the descension. You know, when you breathe in, you rise up to the top, and when you breathe out, you descend back down, and you're manifested into the form. So, you know, it's associated with that. Now, talking about the pressure, you know, I wrote down on here is that get up and go and the happy feet. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I call it happy feet is because if you have this center open, especially completely open, when you come around people with that root center defined, like you literally get happy feet. Like you get this urge to move around. You get like you.
So you think those kids who are in class and they can't stop moving their feet, that's the open root, huh? I never thought about that till just now.
That is totally
children
the open root.
Children who can't sit still, yeah.
Yes, children who can't sit still, adults who can't sit still. Yeah. Like it never.
Shake their leg all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have that leg shaky type thing happening all the time, the first thing you want to do is look at your chart and see if you have this open root. And 9 times out of 10, you will have it open or either undefined. And you're absorbing that energy from the other people around you. And so just know, you know, this is what's going on. And having that open root, you're here to learn about adrenaline. You're here to learn about how to apply that burst of energy. You're here to learn about your kundalini and how to raise it. You know, this is also a pressure center, like that pressure to get up and do things. The root center is responsible for us getting up and doing anything, any activity. So if you have it open, a lot of open people are the completely open center. You experience grounding. Grounding is a part. Having a natural grounded nature is a part of having it open or undefined. When you have this center defined, connected to the motor or either the spleen or whatever it is, when you have it defined, literally it ungrounds you, which is weird because you would think that having a set grip on the energy, you can sit down or whatever. But having
it means you constantly have adrenaline going, huh?
Yes, you constantly have this adrenaline going. So the way I survived through my track and field thing is because I have a defined route. So I didn't run. I didn't do running events. I did the long jump. So I only had to run for a burst of energy, and then I jump, and then I land, and then I get a chance to rest. So the root energy, it gives you a burst, and then you got to rest so that it can build back up. And but it does the same thing like the generator, to where it constantly recycles itself. So it's an unlimited energy area as well, except that it just needs to rest. You know, so you'll constantly have that energy. You'll have that connection to that adrenaline energy when it's defined. When it's open, you're an empath. You know, you pull that energy and then you amplify it. So, you know, you get that unsettled energy. But also, if you feel unsettled, then a lot of times when you just look around and look at yourself, are you the type of person that needs to work out? You know, if you keep coming around people to where you have this pressure to get up and do something, look at yourself, look at your body. You know, the root center is going to, like, literally, it's going to get you up and it's going to get you going to go work out, to go after whatever it is that you need to go after, especially if you're a manifester. You know, even a manifesting generator, you have parts in there where you turn into a manifester. So, you know, you're going to need to have access to that root to kind of help boost you and to get things started. But if you don't have your root center defined, this is the reason why it's hard for you to start things.
Yeah, Victoria says, being open, it acts as a vessel to hold the energy from the ground that you draw up into the self. So that would make you more grounded.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. So you having it open, we can really look to you guys, the people with the open root, when it comes to slowing us down, you know, and giving us that view of like, wow, wait a minute, I've been moving around. And this person is just totally chilling, and I'm totally just out of control moving around. Maybe I need to sit down. And as soon as I sit down, then the person that's with the undefined root is like, man, I've been sitting down for like 20 days.
Yeah.
So now this person here, I feel like I want to get up.
Well, the issue with the open or undefined root is that, well, and here's the question. When you have the open or undefined root center, are you still trying to get things done so you can be free? So the issue, the not self issue that happens when you're undefined there is that you will try to do everything as quickly as possible so you can get it done and feel free of the pressure so you can feel free. But the problem is the pressure never goes away because the defined root center people don't stop existing. And 60% of us have a defined root center. So you can't really avoid it unless you go live in the middle of nowhere. And then somebody may call you with a defined root center on the phone or send you an email.
As soon as they call you, you get connected because all is self and when we are connected.
And I see this in my mom. She has an undefined root center and she tries so hard. She feels so much pressure. She tries to get a lot of stuff done so she can finally relax. But the problem is that cycle never ends. So learning, just know that this is going on. Just set realistic goals for yourself if you have an open root center, and don't, just like open sacral people can try to be super generators. Don't try to be a super root center being because you're responding to the pressure of others. Just know that you're free right now. And whether you get your to-do list done or not, you're still free right now. We're all already free.
Yes. Yes.
Should I do all the questions?
Yeah, you can go into the questions.
Okay, so the affirmations for the open root. I set realistic goals. I make powerful decisions about being free. And I know that things will get done when they get done.
Yes.
I use pressure to create more energy. And at the end of the day, I rest and relax, even if my to-do list is long. I make decisions according to my human design strategy, even if I feel pressure. I breathe and relax, knowing that there is an abundance of time to get things done. So you don't have to feel like a victim to this pressure because you're already free. So just be free anyway. And if you do nothing on the to-do list today, it's okay.
It's okay.
Or prioritize your to-do list. And I think that especially if you're a manifesting generator with an open root, just prioritize and put some things on next week's list.
And even flexibility. And also remember, the open centers equals flexibility.
Yes.
If you're not flexible with yourself, then you're not gonna be creating a situation to where you're gonna be defining your route to being flexible. At the end of the day, we do experience some definition within these open centers through our age, through growing, through living, and becoming more wiser. You tend to fill up this energy with knowledge and information. So as you gain more experience in life, it's still open, but it has a lot more, flavor to it now that you have experienced. So you can know that you're not just sitting here just totally open and it's just like in and out. It literally, you are learning, and just like anybody, when we learn something, we absorb it and then we add it to our knowing, we add it to our system, and it becomes us. So you have also this unlimited capacity to learn everything that there is to learn about the pressure of life, and grounding, and kundalini, and and getting up and going, and gauging your energy and respecting your energy, and just resting.
Yeah, and just know that when you have an undefined root center, this is the cycle you get into. We tend to assign more work to people with an undefined root center because then they're going to feel more pressure that they have to get it done, so they'll actually do more things. So you get in this never-ending cycle. You're one of those people that has to learn to be mediocre at work. Like learn to be mediocre because you're going to have all this pressure to get everything done, so then everyone's going to look to you to get everything done because you're the one who goes with the pressure and gets things done. So just know that cycle can happen. And remember, you're already free. And then with the defined root center, here are your affirmations. I honor my root pulse and wait for the energy to get things done. So you got to wait, like the sacral has to fill up, wait for your adrenaline. I get more done when the energy is on. When the energy is off, I know that it is my time to rest and restore. So with these energy centers, sometimes they're not full and it's time to rest, and that's okay. And having said that, we're probably like past the 3-hour mark, so
I don't even know.
I'm gonna
I
pause
don't even want to
this.
know.
Okay, so that's gonna officially end this seminar on the 9 centers in human design. We hope you've enjoyed the seminar.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I want to thank each and every one of you, you know, for participating in the New Earth Activated Self Academy.
Yes.
And just to let you guys know, I did create this school on my Sims video game. So it is in the ethers, you know, within the mental realms. And the school is definitely there in session. And if you have a dream about being somewhere and you see a waterfall in the middle of a courtyard, you got to know you are at the school. So it's there, like for real, for real, for real. So
yeah, and we'll get into that in the 3rd month.
yeah,
it's going to be real interesting.
Oh, it's going to be super interesting. So I love you guys. I love doing this, and I'm just happy, and I'm appreciative of all of our higher selves, all of our guides, all of our angels that brought us here. And I send out love, light, and prosperity and abundance. Always got to give you that one. You know, may all your dreams come true, and let the light, the white light, guide you. You know, to your next location and destination, which is going to be greatness, joy, and delight. And we're here for you guys. So don't be afraid to ask us questions, and tag me on things if you want to if you want to really reach me. It's easy to just tag me and stuff,
or email us,
or email me. You know, email us and you know, at activationcoaching.com. So you guys have a great, or activationcoaching@gmail.com. But you guys have a great evening, and like I say, much love and light.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Follow your strategy and authority.
Yes.